it worth it, or can I find an alternative? And I knew of other GB athletes doing it. I didn't think it was going to cause outrage like this.
Yeah, because I was thinking, you know, a nice chap like you, who's obviously very talented with your sport, you could make some money doing, you know, like online fitness training or personal training and things like that don't involve, you know, getting your kit off.
No, for sure. I've been making content for like 6-7 years now. Over 1,000 of the pieces of content have been inspirational, motivational. I've visited over 30 schools in the UK, going to the hardest parts of the UK, inspiring kids from underprivileged backgrounds to get into sport. I've tried that, but I don't know. I found that in this day and age, unless you are smart or find some little controversial thing you can hold on to, it's going to be hard to get attention and sponsorship.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning, 9:30 on Thursday the 10th of July, live across the UK. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
Good morning. So migrant deal imminent? Maybe. 50 small boat migrants, 50, will be returned to France every week. That's 2,600 per year, but we remind you, 44,000 illegal people came across the Channel since last July. So is it a real French farce?
France and the United Kingdom have a shared responsibility to address irregular migration with humanity, solidarity and firmness.
It's just not serious, is it? And benefits beat work. Who'd have thought it? Sickness handouts will soon outpay minimum wage jobs by £2,500 a year. So when are we going to rethink the welfare system?
The old parties do not have what it takes to transform our country, to build a Britain we can believe in again. And that's why I've decided to join the Reform Party.
Well, that is Sir Jake Berry, the former Conservative Party chairman. He has defected to Reform after being a Tory for 25 years. We've got his exclusive interview this morning.
They've responded with 5 days of strike action, which, as far as I'm concerned, is both unreasonable and unnecessary.
So that's the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, criticising junior doctors, that's what they used to be called, who are going to strike for 5 days later this month. It's estimated it will cause 200,000 appointments to be cancelled. The doctors and the BMA just greedy for wanting more money, and is it time to ban doctors going on strike?
And boat bonfire backlash. Effigies of life jacket-wearing migrants have been placed on a village bonfire in Northern Ireland. It's been condemned as sickening and racist. What do you think of it?
And pubs in peril. Can you believe this? More than one pub a day is set to close across Britain this year as a direct result of the budget. When did you last visit your local boozer?
So, we hoped Macron would arrive here and come up with a fantastic solution, and he's basically arrived here and he's blamed us.
Yeah.
He said, you've got to stop your pull factors. And this latest proposal that we send back 50 a month, a week?
50 a week.
50 a week. 50 a week.
So it would take, for 1 year's number of migrants coming here, it would take 15 years and 5 months to get rid of them. What a joke.
They're not serious about it, are they?
Serious.
GBnews.com/your say. It's going to be a very busy show. Let's get a 60-second news update with Tatiana Sanchez.
The headlines from the GB Newsroom at 9:30. Sir Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron will engage in crunch talks to hammer out a migration deal after the pair admitted a new deterrent was needed to stop small boats crossing the English Channel. Kemi Badenoch is to call for health benefits to be restricted to people with the most serious conditions as she sets out her plans for welfare. Royal Mail is to be allowed to scrap Saturday's second-class stamp deliveries under a series of reforms proposed by the communications regulator. Former Conservative Party chairman Sir Jake Berry has defected to Reform UK. In a video posted to X, he said only Reform and Nigel Farage can deliver a Britain that we are proud of. And Novak Djokovic came back from a set-down to beat Flavio Cobolli in 4, while Yannick Sinner allayed concerns over an elbow injury by cruising past Ben Shelton, setting up a mouth-watering men's semi-final at Wimbledon. And those are the latest headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
9:34, good morning. This is Britain's Newsroom live across the UK with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
So it's the big deal today. The Prime Minister, Macron, sitting down at number 10 for serious talks. The so-called one-in, one-out migrant deal has been exposed as a charade. It will mean 50 migrants returning to France every week.
50.
Only 50.
A week.
And in the last year, since they've come to power, 44,000 migrants have arrived in Britain. Chris Hope is our
Well, just to be fair, yes, it's a small number, but in the same way the Tories sent 2 people to Rwanda to prove it was a safe country before a lot more were meant to be sent, and then Labour act day 2 in that press conference of their time in government. The government would say here, this is a pilot scheme, we're starting with 50 a week and it might get bigger. But the problem they've got is the European Union countries won't like it, because once they're sent back to France, France can move them on to the first country they came into.
Yeah.
So
Spain,
southern European
Malta,
countries will get
Italy,
overwhelmed by migrants from northern France. So the reason why you got this pushback from Brussels is because there are about 5 countries who are on the southern border of the European Union with Africa will get more migrants because of the deal, and that's why they're opposing it. So it's only 50. It's 17 here, 1 sent back. I see why it's being attacked politically, but it is only meant to be a pilot deal.
But it looks ludicrous, Chris, on the day that the Prime Minister is going to be glad-handing his mate Macron on the steps of number 10. He gave him a full state visit. He had the King rolled out, the red carpet rolled out. Vast expense. I won't tell us how much it's cost. And it's just a pointless talking shop.
I'll tell you what's more ludicrous. It's that footage from a Nigel Farage captained vessel in the English Channel.
Yeah.
GBNews was the only camera on board to watch the French Navy escort a boat laden with 70 people on board and then collected by the UK Navy and then taken to the UK. I mean, absolutely, if you had an example of the impotency of the UK and French governments, you have it there.
The British Navy operating as an Uber service for illegal migrants. And we had the King in his speech the other day talking about irregular migration, which is around...
Well, he talked about no borders between the 2 countries. Yeah. That is a case in point.
Yeah.
And why does it matter? So we have to remind ourselves, why does it matter? Not because this country is not generous, and not because we don't think there are some people in the world to whom we could offer some refuge. It matters because nobody can afford anything, and we keep being told repeatedly that the government has no money, that we can't get to see our GPs, we've got doctors going on strike demanding more money, and so therefore the British public are infuriated when they feel that people are coming here, they're being given something for nothing.
You've got people who have got poisoned blood from the HIV scandal today. Yesterday, it's sub-postmasters. They are not getting the justice we all agree they deserve. That's part of the problem.
And then we see a new report, which we're going to talk to Ian Duncan Smith about, Chris, later, the former Tory leader, the head of the Centre for Social Justice. Living on sickness benefits will soon be £2,500 a year more than you'd get if you worked for the minimum wage.
What that means, by the way, is you have to earn £40,000 in the private sector to get the net income, which is more.
So by 2030, it will be the equivalent of it will take 9 million taxpayers to pay this sickness bill, and Labour ducked the big disability benefit vote last week.
Benefits is the one place the Tories think they are beating Reform and Labour. Reform UK want to lift the 2-child benefit cap.
Which is a mistake.
Labour can't even cut £5 billion from the bill, even with a massive supermajority in Parliament. So we're hearing later from Kemi Badenoch with a speech, and I'll be talking to her afterwards for GB News.
And of course there was a vote in the Commons last night, didn't get much coverage. 47 Labour MPs rebelled again on the third reading, the final stage of the disability benefits bill, which was supposed to cut 10 billion, then cut to 5 billion, now no cuts. That's going to cost us money.
That's cementing in the rebellion from last week. 49 last week, 47 now. So now we have that number is now a forever rebellion number almost.
And then we've got this damning poll today, the YouGov poll, showing that, is it nearly 50% of people?
47%.
47% of people think Starmer should go now. Now.
Unprecedented,
1
Chris,
year in.
for a new Prime Minister who won a landslide majority, albeit on only 34% of share of the vote, but a huge majority to be so unpopular so quickly.
A shallow majority for him, and also problems with Kemi Badenoch. So Jake Berry, of course, the second former Tory cabinet minister in 3 days to say they're jumping to Reform UK. She's got her own problems. I remind you, Kemi Badenoch hasn't yet addressed the Tory party conference as leader. So although other people are saying she can't last, who might replace her? Would it be the enthusiastic Robert Jenrick? But he'd have the same problem. I think all the major parties haven't got the answers for so many people, and that's why people are looking towards Reform UK.
Let's just have a quick look at what happened at PMQs yesterday. This was the reaction in the House of Commons when Reform UK leader Nigel Farage simply tried to ask a question about the small boats crisis.
The main reason this country wisely voted for Brexit back in 2016, and that included millions of Labour supporters, is because we wanted to take back control of our borders so that we and we alone could decide who comes and settles in our country.
We didn't. With the bit that we wanted wasn't there, but basically there was an MP at the end, independent MP for Dewsbury and Batley, Iqbal Mohammed, who was shouting individually at Nigel. Lee Anderson told him to shut up, didn't he? And it all got a bit punchy. But just shows you, Chris, that the complete sort of disregard of people in Parliament to even listen to this issue.
There's a bit of pearl clutching here. That is Parliament. You can shout at people when they speak. This is the nature of the place. You have to command the authority of the House. He has 4 MPs. He's one of them, Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
He's got the forces of everyone against him. But you're right, it's been clipped already by Reform UK supporters as showing how the establishment, the main parties don't want to hear even an answer to a question that they want answered. But that is the nature of politics too. So let's not be too generous to Farage.
It plays to Nigel Farage's strengths, of course it does. Frankly. He couldn't have...
He finds it frustrating. Back in the day, when he was an MEP, when we knew him, he, of course, watching pictures now, I think of Downing Street, we're expecting to see Emmanuel Macron arrive with...
the great loving.
To meet with Nigel Farage. With Sir Keir Starmer. But I think about Farage, he used to be able to book his time in to speak in the European Parliament and know he'd have that moment, that 3-minute moment to attack Van Rompuy as a wet dishcloth, and so it goes on, and then he'd clip those for socials. The way Parliament works is geared up for a two-party system. He's got to wait for 4 hours to get his one question in. And he's a busy man. He's trying to run, as in his world, a political movement. He can't do that. So, you know, the whole system is freighted against the small parties, and you saw it then. But I do think in Parliament you've got to sort of, you know, you can't just be shouted down. It's part of our politics.
And of all people, he's the one who can hold his own anyway.
Yeah. But I think he probably didn't mind. I can't ask him, but he'll know what was happening here. I'm just going to talk a bit quietly. Let them shout at me. I'll sit down. It looks like I'm being shouted down by the establishment. He knows how it looks. I mean, he's not here to defend himself.
In terms of where, say, Reform would want to be at this stage in an electoral cycle, will they be happy with where they are right now?
Here he comes. Here we go.
Emmanuel Macron, the French president, about to be greeted by Sir Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, at the door of 10 Downing Street.
Horribly stage managed, this. Lots of questions being shouted at him. Some by the French press will be there, of course, as well, Chris.
Yeah, we have. Yes, they'll be there
coming out
on the pavement opposite, behind the barriers. I'm not normally there for it.
And literally, they have put the red carpet out. There's the hug.
Le bromance, Sandra and Bev.
And Starmer said yesterday in PMQs, didn't he, that you have to be nice to your neighbours in order to do a deal with them. He made that point, which he did in response to Nigel Farage. You know, the idea that you can't be collaborative with the people that you've got to do a deal with. It is the polar opposite of what we're seeing from, say, Donald Trump.
Just watching those pictures there, I noted how Sir Keir Starmer took Mr Macron inside and Macron went out for another photograph.
Of course he did.
Because what happens with President Macron, we saw it with Donald Trump, who's in charge.
Yeah.
The enthusiastic grabbing of knees, the backslapping on Donald Trump. There's two, you know, we're in the world here of everyone's got a big ego in politics, and, you know, who's actually the boss in that meeting. Because don't forget, he's a head of state.
He certainly is. And he's been around for quite a few years
now. But our guy is only a Prime Minister. So when you go to the G7 or G20, what's amazing is when say, a head of state meets with our Prime Minister, we have to go to where they are, because he outranks internationally as a head of state against our Prime Minister.
Even though he's a busted old flush because he's got no parliamentary majority, because he lost it because he called an election he didn't win, and he's going at 2027 anyway, so he's a busted flush.
What's busted old flush in French?
Yeah.
Let's work that out, because he might be watching.
Vieille fluche.
Yes, exactly. Very good. He is a busted old flush. Mind you, the Prime Minister's looking like one too.
Well, that's what I was saying about the electoral cycle and where we are in that. We're only 12 months into it.
Yeah.
Who...
He's got 4 years, don't forget.
Well, exactly, but who would be very happy? That's what I mean. Does it matter that today Starmer, for half the country, want him out already? He's still got time, obviously, to turn everything around.
Will reform peak too soon?
That was my question. You know, how would Nigel feel? You can ask Jake Berry this morning when you interviewed him.
I think he'd rather be ahead.
Where would they want to be at this stage in the election cycle?
They are completely relaxed to be where they are. They are 13 points ahead. We haven't yet seen this Corbyn party could launch in September. That could take 3 points off Labour, put them down to 20 points each. Reform on 27 points. I keep saying to them behind the scenes, who's your Shadow Home Affairs spokesman? Who is your Shadow Chancellor? Who is your Shadow Foreign Secretary? And I'm told we don't need to have one. Look at the polls. And they're totally right, of course. And we have to, as journalists, keep banging on that door saying, if you want to be the next government of this country, who are these people? We need to vet them and understand what the policy is.
Because the trouble is, it is still the criticism that Rupert Lowe made, is reform a one-man band.
He was right on that.
And in the meantime, I have to say, in the meantime, Robert Jenrick is making some very interesting noises for the Conservatives that
why
would
is he
appeal.
the answer when Kevin Baylor hasn't done one party conference?
It's a very good question. We have more questions for you between now and midday, and later this afternoon, Sir Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron will be holding a press conference. Martin Daubney
to be a fly on the wall
will bring you all of it. Let's hope Sir Keir Starmer can take inspiration from Hugh Grant, who plays the Prime Minister, of course, in the movie Love Actually. Have a look.
The friend who bullies us is no longer a friend. And since bullies only respond to strength, from now onward, I will be prepared to be much stronger. And the President should be prepared for that.
I wasn't sure if it's going to be Hugh Grant asleep in the Wimbledon box yesterday, which might be more appropriate. But up next, many people are left asking why bother going to work, as it's revealed that you'll soon get more if you're on sickness benefits than working. We're going to be talking to the fantastic Sir Ian Duncan-Smith about that.
But first, we're going to give you some holiday sun forecast. Here we go.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm Gabriel is set to affect many areas of Central Europe, and to the east of this, the intense heat wave continues, triggering some thunderstorms at times. But across many areas of Western Europe, largely settled, some showers at times, but it is going to be feeling warm in the sunshine. The main shower risk is as we move our way eastwards, particularly along the Adriatic coastline and then also parts of Greece. So once again, we could see some intense thunderstorms, but for many areas, plenty of sunshine, plenty of warm temperatures too.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
French authorities first seized the Lady T, and that's an Eastbourne-based fishing vessel. And next, they fined its skipper, Philip Edwards, €30,000 to release his boat. Now, the Lady T, operating legally under UK jurisdiction, was intercepted by a French patrol ship near the Somme Bay. Now, the incident has sparked massive outrage among British fishermen and is renewing calls for the government to stand firm against French overreach in national waters. Well, I'm delighted to say I'm now joining with Charlotte Edwards, who's the husband. Husband Philip is the skipper of the Lady T and is out fishing right now. Charlotte, welcome to the show. I've got to say, here at GB News, we are hugely supportive and appreciative of British fishermen and fisherwomen. Do a fantastic job. So if you're nervous about the interview, please don't be. I want to ask you how on earth this happened. I mean, there's been a lot of talk, for example, that the Lady T didn't have the correct paperwork, it was fishing illegally, and the French decided to pounce. What's the reality?
The paperwork just slipped through. It was an admin error. The other two boats had the permits, and unfortunately, his didn't at the time. He wasn't in as far in as they said he was. He was about 800 metres in their water. He wasn't near the 12-mile
He was intercepted by the Pluvier. That's a French Navy ship. No, by the way, the sort of French Navy ships that just seem to give an escort to illegal dinghies coming into British waters, suddenly pouncing into action. The only boat they've managed to stop seems to be the Lady T.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Who is he? What's he doing there?
They already know who you are, though.
Don't miss this special reunion, Eamon and Anne together again, only on GB News Breakfast this weekend from 6 a.m.
And is that a gardening tan?
No, it's a cypress tan.
Well, we're going to Downing Street because we've got this exciting photograph. There they are.
Look!
There's the summit.
Right here, thank you.
The French President and the Prime Minister. The Chancellor of the Exchequer's there. She's not crying today, we're pleased to say. Rachel Reeves. She's managed to keep her composure. Who else is in the picture? Oh, the Home Secretary, who's, of course, responsible for the...
Yeah, if you're listening on the radio, oh, look, Miliband's there, of course. They're all stood on sort of dais outside 10 Downing Street.
Johnny Reynolds is there, the Business Secretary, and there'll be some other French. There'll be some French part of the French team too. Home Secretary has to be there, of course, because of this groundbreaking deal to send back 50 migrants a week. 44,000 migrants, just to remind you, have arrived already since July. Well, let's go now to talk. We're going to talk to Sir Ian Duncan-Smith because there's an extraordinary report coming out today from the Centre for Social Justice, his think tank, which shows that it's going to be more advantageous to be on benefits than working on the minimum wage.
That's right. So £2,500 more a year. If a life on benefits for £225,000 a year, is it discouraging Brits from working?
Let's talk to Sir Ian Duncan-Smith because it's his report by the Centre for Social Justice. Ian, morning to you. You and I, we used to talk. I used to talk to you when you were Work and Pensions Secretary, and you were making real progress about to make it less attractive to be on benefits. It's all fallen apart since COVID.
Yeah, I'm afraid this is it. I mean, just before COVID, I resigned, if you may recall, because I thought what the government then wanted to do, which was to top slice the disability benefits, I said wouldn't work because they'll just appeal and get the money, and you just go through a whole lot of hurt to do it. What you need to do is aim at a different level. And by the time we hit COVID, as a result of the reforms, we had the lowest number of workless households in the UK since record began. We had capped the benefits and we had made certain that they were back to work, and work was in fact part of the key. What's happened during COVID is, of course, all the face-to-face checks were got rid of. I tried to warn about this, but it wasn't listened to. And also what happened was payments were made, therefore, in a much more expanded manner. People have got used to that, and the trouble is now trying to retrieve all that is very difficult. The government, to be fair to it, is actually trying to do it, but they've had a complete U-turn and a mess because their backbenchers did not like what they were trying to do. We put forward a report that says, look, right now there is a disincentive to go to work if you're on either some of the compounds of sickness benefit and the PIP. What actually happens is you end up with a sort of higher take-home pay, as it were, than you would if you were working on minimum wage. And so what we're trying to do here is to say there's a better way to go about this. One of the problems that they've got, and it was, happening earlier on, but we managed to get it under control, but now it's gone completely out of control, is that we've medicalized so many of the normal ups and downs of life. And so if you look at the biggest growth group that's coming in on the sickness benefit side, which is now just going into universal credit for the first time, what's happening is the three areas are ADHD, depression and anxiety. Now, the problem with these is at the lower level, they really shouldn't be on the benefits. What we're saying is rather than being on benefits, you don't pay that benefit. What you do is use some of the savings to actually help get them back into work and, by the way, give them any treatment that's necessary for them to stabilize. Because the NHS has said this, and I always believed it, that work is a health treatment for depression, anxiety, and ADHD. You need to be in work. Without work, you languish at home. Things get worse. Anyone knows that. If you're feeling depressed, you sit at home for a while, not talking to anybody, you just get worse and worse and worse. And I remember talking to a GP in East End of London once, who said to me that his whole surgery, in the days when surgeries used to be full of people, was full of people all with depression, and he was handing out antidepressants. In fact, he said the real problem was they were all out of work. They had no one to talk to, and they had to come in because there was nothing to do. And the key thing, the absolute key now, is work is critical to turning their lives around. And the key was that we had the lowest number of workless households. So if you don't have somebody in work, children are affected, their education gets worse, they are more likely to end up doing the same as you are, and you perpetuate the problem. So that growth has got to be held back, and we have to change the lives of people, not just cut, but change their lives.
It's a big job, Ian Duncan-Smith, and I'm not sure this government are particularly up for it. Just very briefly, what would you be doing? What would the Conservatives be doing right now?
Well, it's exactly on that point that I was making. So the proposal that was put forward by the Centre for Social Justice, which the Conservatives have latched onto, I hope the Labour government does too, which is to say, look, the big growth area is in those three areas I talked about: depression, anxiety, and ADHD. And truthfully, what we need to do with them is, instead of giving them benefits and putting them, out of work, what we need to do is say, work. That's
Tackle
what
the
we
economy.
need to do. Get you back into work and give you the support.
All
That
right,
would
Ian,
save
great to see you.
£7.5 billion.
Sir Ian Duncan-Smith there. Fascinating.
Not long enough.
Not long enough. Don't go anywhere. Here's your weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any fog or low cloud soon clearing away this morning, leaving plenty of blue skies and hot sunshine. Though a different story across the northwest. More cloud and also some light outbreaks of rain and drizzle just starting to clip in to the far west of Scotland, and mostly cloudy skies for the first part of the day across Northern Ireland. But elsewhere across England and Wales, eastern parts of Scotland, plenty of blue skies and plenty of sunshine. It is going to be feeling hot in that sunshine though, particularly across central areas and parts of the southeast. We're expecting highs to reach 30 degrees Celsius, so UV levels are set to be high, so do take care if you're out and about in the sunshine this afternoon. Like I said, though, slightly different across parts of Scotland. Still plenty of clouds, still by the end of the day, particularly across northern areas of Scotland. Still some light outbreaks of drizzle here. But elsewhere across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, particularly Northern Ireland, actually, that cloud is really going to break up into the afternoon, allowing more sunny spells to break through. But elsewhere across England and Wales, the clear skies are here to stay. So it should be a rather pleasant end to the day. Still feeling warm, and it is set to be quite a mild night, once again, particularly across the southeast. And any rain and drizzle soon clearing the far north of Scotland too, though we might just start to see some low cloud through the early hours, particularly around the Irish Sea, which may clip into coastal counties at times. But otherwise, dry, settled, and another mild night to come. Temperatures mostly staying around the mid to high teens overnight. So once again, a warm start to finish off the week, and mostly settled for many areas. A return of the blue skies, any low cloud once again soon clearing through the first part of the morning, and even across western Scotland seeing a much better day, less cloud and more in the way of blue skies. And
a positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M4 westbound near J23 at Mega has roadworks with the off-slip closed and diversions. Essex's A12 southbound between J16 and J15 has a collision closing one lane, causing delays. Hampshire's M3 westbound between junctions 5 and 6 has an incident, closing one lane and causing 30-minute delays. Solihull's M42 southbound between J5 and 4 faces a police incident, shutting all lanes and increasing traffic by 1.5 hours. And on the trains, Great Western Railway faces disruption at Worcester Shrub Hill, and Hull Trains operates a reduced service today. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
On Thursday the 10th of July, live across the United Kingdom, this is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
So, the big migrant deal will be unveiled today. Guess what? 50 small boats will be returned, 50 small boat migrants will be returned to France every week. 2,600 a year, 44,000 illegals crossed the Channel since July. What a farce.
France and the United Kingdom have a shared responsibility to address irregular migration with humanity, solidarity and firmness.
Irregular migration, remember, folks.
Well, whatever the British and the French leaders agree to, is it going to end the pull factor? The migrants, of course, aiming for the White Cliffs of Dover. Already today, multiple migrant boats in the English Channel. We've seen one of them. There's at least another 4 migrant boats trying to make it to the UK.
So benefits are still beating work. Sickness handouts will soon outpay minimum wage jobs by £2,500 a year. And we've missed the opportunity to rework the welfare state.
The old parties do not have what it takes to transform our country, to build a Britain we can believe in again. And that's why I've decided to join the Reform Party.
That's Sir Jake Berry, who was chairman of the Tory party, albeit only for the 49 days of Liz Truss's premiership, but he's defecting to Reform. He'd been a Tory for 25 years and he's talking exclusively to GB News.
They've responded with 5 days of strike action, which, as far as I'm concerned, is both unreasonable and unnecessary.
That's Health Secretary Wes Streeting wondering what to do once you've already capitulated to demands for pay, and then the junior doctors come back and ask for more. Are they, the BMA union, greedy for wanting more money? What do you think?
And boat bonfire backlash. Effigies of life jacket-wearing illegal migrants have been placed on a village bonfire in Northern Ireland. It's been condemned as sickening and racist. We'll ask what you think.
And our pubs are in desperate trouble. More than 1 pub a day is going to close across Britain this year. Why are we no longer a nation of pub goers? Why are we no longer a nation of pub goers?
It's because it's too expensive.
Do you think?
I do. And the national insurance rise is been very difficult for publicans. It's very expensive to buy beer in a pub. People buy it in an offline, but go to a supermarket and drink it at home.
And sadly, I know you don't like me saying this, but it's a post-pandemic cultural shift.
Yeah.
We got used to drinking in the garden. We got used to entertaining at home.
I make a real effort. I say to my partner, come on, let's go to the pub. Let's go and support our pub. We've got a couple of pubs where I live in North London, and we support them.
Me too. We've also got a younger generation that aren't drinking as much. We've got people here from different countries, culturally, religious reasons, don't drink any alcohol. They don't have a pub culture, and we are going to lose it, unfortunately. And I hate that, because for some people still, especially the older generation, sometimes it would be the only place they get to go and have a pint and sit and chat. Human contact. It's important. GBNews.com/YourSay. Let us know your thoughts this morning. First, though, a quick news hit with Tatiana Sanchez.
Bev, thank you. The top story: Sir Keir Starmer's welcomed Emmanuel Macron to Downing Street for crunch talks to hammer out a migration deal after the pair admitted a new deterrent was needed to stop small boats crossing the English Channel. The Prime Minister hopes the French President will sign up to a one-in, one-out deal when they hold their Franco-British summit at Number 10 today, the last day of Mr Macron's state visit to the UK. Under the new deal, up to 50 migrants could be returned to France weekly. But some are saying it doesn't go far enough. It comes as more than 44,000 migrants reached British shores illegally via small boats since last year's general election, including 20,600 so far this calendar year. Kemi Badenoch is to call for health benefits to be restricted to people with the most serious conditions as she sets out her plans for welfare. In a speech today, the Tory leader will warn of a ticking time bomb of welfare dependency as government forecasts suggest annual spending on health and disability benefits could reach £70 billion by 2030. Other projections suggest the figure could go as high as £100 billion, while the Office for Budget Responsibility has warned that failing to cut the rate at which people take up benefits could cost an extra £12 billion. Helen Whately MP, Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary, spoke to GB News.
In our time in government, if you look between the period from 2010 to the pandemic, we got the benefits bill right down. We halved unemployment. We got more people into work, and we did that groundbreaking reform led by Ian Duncan-Smith, Universal Credit, which was all about making sure work would always pay. What we have seen, I think you're referring to, is the rise in sickness benefits that's happened through the pandemic and up to the general election, in fact, continue to go up under the Labour government. And we had reforms planned to fix that problem. Labour cancelled them, said they had their own plans, but actually what we've seen in Parliament over the last week or two with all their U-turns, they're in chaos. They can't achieve welfare savings.
Royal Mail is to be allowed to scrap Saturday second-class stamp deliveries under a series of reforms proposed by the communications regulator. From the 28th of July, Royal Mail will also be allowed to deliver second-class letters on alternate weekdays, Ofcom says. The post will still be delivered within 3 working days of collection from Monday to Friday. These proposals had already been raised by Ofcom after a consultation was announced last year, and the scale-back was proposed early this year. Royal Mail had repeatedly failed to meet the so-called universal service obligation to deliver post within the set periods of time. The company has welcomed the new move. Former Conservative Party chairman Sir Jake Berry has defected to Reform UK. In a video posted to X, Jake Berry said only Reform and Nigel Farage can deliver a Britain that we're proud of. He added Mr Farage's party was the last chance to pull Britain back from terminal decline. The Southport inquiry has heard impact statements from the families of 4 girls who survived the attacks. The mother of one of the girls said that her daughter fought to save herself and others despite being severely injured. The inquiry has now been adjourned and is set to begin again on the 8th of September, where it's expected to hear evidence about the circumstances of the attack and Axel Rudikabana's contact with various agencies. Now, the third heat wave of the summer is set to hit the UK by the end of the week, forecasters say, with Wimbledon fans and players in for a sweltering weekend. The Met Office said the Tennis Championship's women's final on Saturday and men's final on Sunday could see temperatures of more than 30 degrees. Scotland is also due to hit the heat wave threshold, with temperatures on the east coast forecast to be up to 31 degrees on Saturday and potentially break local records. Despite not being as warm as the heat wave at the beginning of July, the Met Met Office says the hot spell is forecast to last longer and cover a broader area. And Novak Djokovic came back from a set down to beat Flavio Cobolli in 4, while Yannick Sinner relayed concerns over an elbow injury by cruising past Ben Shelton, setting up a mouth-watering men's semi-final at Wimbledon. Their meeting tomorrow is a rematch of the 2023 Final Four meeting between the two, Sinner's best prior run at Wimbledon, in which Djokovic triumphed in straight sets. 2 years on, however, Sinner represents a much sterner prospect. The 23-year-old, now ranked world #1, having won 3 Grand Slam titles over the past 18 months. 38-year-old Djokovic, a 7-time winner at Wimbledon, is looking to win a record 25th Grand Slam title. That would break his current tie with Margaret Court. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more news in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back, 10:08. Thank you, Tatiana. Let's see what you've been saying at home. Monica said pubs are going to be killed off completely soon if this regime gets its way regarding banter, free speech, people listening in. Angela Rayner's a big fan of that policy, isn't she? That,
she really
that
is.
bill. And Grumpy Grandad Morning says pubs, it feels like we are changing everything to keep foreigners happy at the expense of British culture.
Well, it is British culture. I put that on social media. This is an important part of British culture. The pub lunch, the Sunday pub lunch, stopping for a beer in the garden. It's just so sad.
I know. Paul says, Bev, stop blaming everything on COVID. As soon as the pubs reopened, my local one was full every day. It's the increased cost that's been forced on pubs that's killing it. I think you're right, Paul, but there was, especially for the younger generation, they don't really understand why you would go out to a pub when, for a couple of years, a lot of them that would have been maybe making that transition to being an adult and the pub being part of their social life, they didn't do it. So now they just don't see the point. They might buy a couple of tinnies and take a blanket and sit by the river in the summer. That's what they've been trained to do, you know, and it is expensive. I don't disagree.
It really is. I mean, a glass of wine in a pub can be £10
easily
for a glass.
I know. And that's not because the pubs are ripping us off, let's remember.
No.
That is because their overheads are
And let's
crippling.
not forget how much tax the government takes for every alcoholic drink you have. On health grounds, of course, that's why they're taking all the tax, that's what they tell you.
Yeah, Eileen says the pub downfall started with the smoking ban. Nobody cared where the old boys with their pint and a pipe went then. It's continued spiralling downwards due to anti-pub agents. Nothing to do originally with the prices of pints. Now it's energy prices, ingredients prices, antisocial people, concern for safety, and also religious non-drinkers. So many reasons. You're so right, Eileen.
The pub where I go to in North London, it's got a garden. So I sat out there and there was a guy having a fag with his pint, and the people on the next table said, could you put your cigarette out?
Oh, no.
And I said to them, why can't he have a cigarette?
Did you?
I did. I said, let him have his cigarette.
Quiet.
Let him enjoy his fag.
Absolutely.
Move, go inside if you don't want it. I mean, they've been banned from smoking inside.
Yeah.
For God's sake, let him have his fag outside.
Yeah, busybodies. Yeah, right, let's keep your messages coming. gbnews.com/yoursay. We love hearing from you.
Now, big deal today, because the Prime Minister is having that summit in Number 10 with many of his ministers, the Home Secretary's there, the Business Secretary, various others. Didn't notice David Lammy there, by the way, did you?
No, he wasn't on the little
Funny that,
platform
the Foreign
outside
Secretary, our diplomat-in-chief, who is an international embarrassment, in my view. But he's going to strike a one-in, one-out migrant deal with Macron, which will mean 50 migrants a week will return to France. 44,000 have crossed the Channel already in a year, and currently we're in the Channel on a GB News boat with Nigel Farage. There are 4 or 5 migrant boats crossing the Channel, so another 300 are on their way.
They are trolling us. Let's go live now to Dover, where our sun-kissed Home and Security editor, Mark White, is looking like the classic man about town in his lovely summer outfit with a beautiful sea behind him. But it's not such a happy story, is it, Mark? What's going on there in Dover?
Yeah, we're in the shadow of the White Cliffs of Dover. Of course, the destination that all these migrants are trying to reach. And again, I mean, it's been flat calm conditions in the English Channel, which, as sure as night follows day, the migrants come. Whatever Sir Keir Starmer says he is doing in attempting to smash the gangs, clearly thus far has not worked, as we're at 21,100 odd who have crossed the channel, 50% more than that above the same period last year. And again today, courtesy of Nigel Farage here, who is fishing at the moment. It's his fishing time. We don't want to disturb him. We've intruded on him quite a bit during the course of the morning now. And we weren't just catching the aquatic life here, it was the Channel migrants, as one of those small boats came right close to us under escort from a French warship, and we saw the resources that were involved actually with a border force vessel, that French warship, 3 rigid inflatables, another support ship that was picking up the small boat as well. At the end of this, drones overhead, very significant. That's before you take any of the hotel costs into account. And although Nigel's busy here in true Blue Peter style, there is one we prepared earlier, a clip that I got with Nigel about an hour and a half ago. Let's take a look.
This is a classic day in the English Channel over the last 5 years when the weather's calm, or a red day as they call it. And yes, you've got a migrant boat, and we've seen it through the binoculars. There's about 70 people on board being escorted all the way over by the French Navy, and behind us we have Border Force sitting on
Well, in terms of the deal, which we're told will be announced by President Macron and Prime Minister Starmer later today, if it is 50 migrants a week that the French will take back, there is no one who is involved in maritime security in the Channel that I've spoken to that believes that will be any form of deterrent. It's effectively 2,500 at most per year on current numbers who are crossing. The vast majority of those who cross the English Channel will not be returned. So is that a deterrent? As I say, those that I've been speaking to don't believe that it's any kind of deterrent.
Mark, we got a question for you. What is Nigel trying to catch, and has he had much success this morning?
Well, at the risk of disturbing him, he is having great success, actually. He's been catching herring all morning, haven't you?
Mackerel, delicious.
And bass. You were looking for bass, but you didn't find any.
No bass yet, but we've achieved the goal of the day, and, you know, I don't think you could have got a better illustration of what's happening in the Channel every single time there's a calm day than what we saw this morning. And weren't the sheer number of boats astonishing? You know, there's one migrant dinghy boat, you've got the French naval vessel, they've launched their own rib off it, you've got Border Force, they've launched 2 ribs off, and then another boat, great big boat, just come to pick up the empties.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it, Nigel, that, you know, people don't realise when, of course, there's a lot of understandable attention given to the cost of accommodation for migrants. It's all of these wraparound services and dealing with those coming across.
Yeah, and there was the drone. We heard the drone going around as well. I mean, I wonder what the daily operational costs are. They must be absolutely enormous over the course of a year. And how classic. 78 on the boat that we looked at. 1 woman, 3 kids, 74 young undocumented males. And I don't know how many times I have to say this, Mark, but this genuinely is a national security emergency. Our country is being endangered by some of these people.
And once again today you've called for that. Thank you, Nigel Farage, for inviting us and some members of the written press here today as well. And we just want to try and find out buckets behind you, Ben, just to confirm that there are indeed some mackerel in there. You can see them. We'll leave you with that lovely shot of all those mackerel that's going to make someone a lovely dinner later on.
Very nice. Mackerel, one of my favourites.
I love a mackerel.
Me too.
Thank you both. Yeah, it looks a beautiful day down there, doesn't it?
And just to remind you, of course, in the Prime Minister's questions yesterday, Nigel Farage, as he was trying to talk about the scandal, the national security issue over migrants, was heckled and shouted down by one of the 4 independent Muslim MPs.
There is no will.
Yeah.
There's no will to change it.
No.
All you can presume is the will is just to keep it coming on, replace them, replace.
And we're going to get this press conference later on with the Prime Minister and French President Macron, and they'll say it's a major breakthrough. It's a joke. It's a farce. 44,000 have crossed the Channel since July, and they're going to send back 50 a week. Pathetic.
Right. Cheerier news. You could win £54,321 and have a lovely holiday with it. Here's all the details.
You have the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax, and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck. Right.
Yeah, good luck. Now, Macron and Starmer are talking to each other in number 10. We can have a look at what they're talking about. We won't hear much, I don't think, but let's have a listen.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to London. Mr. President, Emmanuel, it's a pleasure to have you with us, together with your team. You're all very welcome, and we're much looking forward to this session. This week, we've celebrated a unique relationship, our shared history with a hugely successful state visit, and it has been hugely successful. Now, today, it's our task to look forward, to apply our collective strength and leadership to the challenges that we face today on behalf of the people that we respectively serve. This summit will signal a step change in our partnership to deliver greater prosperity and security for working people, building on our new agreement with the EU, which of course we referenced last night. In uncertain times, we achieve more by strengthening our relationship with our allies. So that is what today is all about, working together on the priorities that we share as two nations. For us, it's about delivering the changes that the British people want to see. We all agree the situation in the Channel cannot go on as it is. So we're bringing new tactics into play and a new level of intent to tackle illegal migration and break the business model of the criminal gangs. We're also deepening our economic cooperation to boost growth and to create jobs. And we're celebrating the new investment into Sizewell C, helping to strengthen our energy security and protect bill payers for many years to come. We're also updating the historic Lancaster House Treaty, an ambition that we put in motion very early on to strengthen our collective defence and security as Europe's only nuclear powers, providing about 40% of European defence spending. We share a unique responsibility for the security of this continent. It is right that we step up and take on that responsibility together, whilst also delivering a defence dividend for our people. And it's also right that we lead the response on Ukraine. Later today, Emmanuel and I will bring the coalition of the willing together again to rally even more support to keep Ukraine in the fight for now and to drive Putin to the negotiating table. On all these fronts, we're working to meet danger and uncertainty together with a show of force, a show of unity. And I want to thank everybody here for all the work that has been done to prepare for today. I'm very much looking forward to our discussions. And let me turn, Emmanuel, Mr. President, to you to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you first for hosting us and for the perfect and warm organization of the state visit. And indeed, today we open a new phase with the summit. And allow me to say a few words in French for our media. Merci beaucoup, cher Keir, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you so much, dear Keir, ministers, for the work done in the lead up to this summit. As you've just recalled, this summit is of prime importance. 9 years after Brexit, agreement's been reached with your resolve, our shared resolve of opening a new chapter and trying collectively re-engage in the face of common challenges. For as you referred at the last meeting that was held with the EU institutions in May to move forward across several fronts, and indeed we would like collectively, together, hand in hand, to build what will allow us to address the looming challenges. On the economic front, we know the need, as we're key partners at a time, we're key partners on both sides of the channel, the need to revive our economies through a more integrated capital investment markets. It's one of the priorities of the EU, but the London Financial Centre wants us, it means that we need to have a coordinated approach with you, reviving investors in many sectors, our ambition, joint ambition on AI and on areas of capabilities, innovation, strategic for us. I'm thinking of what was concluded in the space front with the satellite venture. We welcome that, and of course on security issues and migration, here again the relationship is key. These past few years you've known France's commitment, and our ministers have indeed opened a new phase of the political agreement that's sealed today is of importance because we share the same resolve to fight against illegal criminal.
So we've got the panel now with us, Carol Malone and Jonathan Liss. Delighted to come off that because it was very dull. and do you think, Carol Malone, that the Prime Minister might have been able to speak without notes?
You would have thought it says she with her notes. Yeah, you would have thought so. But, you know, there again, he knows what's coming, doesn't he? He's going to get so much... Nelly said a swear word there. He's going to get so much flack over this that it isn't funny. You know, talking about 50 migrants.
Pathetic.
It's pathetic. You know, we're letting in something like, at weekends, it's 1,000 a day. So, and by the end of the
4 or 5 boats crossing the channel as we speak.
With hundreds and hundreds of people on it. But this is all just a PR exercise. It's sort of to justify Macron's state visit, which I'd really like to talk about. Why are we giving this fake, useless politician state visit?
Quite right.
Is there an enemy of this country?
No, that's come on, Carol.
He tried to destroy us over Brexit.
He did.
Yes, he did.
He's the closest ally.
He is not. If he's our closest ally, it's no wonder we're in a mess. And then he said another swear word. It's no wonder we're in a mess.
Today.
But you know, this was never going to work. It shouldn't be one in, one out. It should be none in, all out.
Yeah.
And that's what he should be talking about. But
he says he's our closest ally. If you'd given an ally nearly 800 million quid and they hadn't done what you'd asked for that, you probably wouldn't consider them an ally. I'd say that's an enemy.
I don't think we can be too myopic about this. France is one of Britain's most important allies and partners. It's our closest neighbour, along with Ireland.
Why are they important to us?
Because they're our closest neighbour.
So
we do so much. We do an extraordinary amount of trade. We have thousands of years of history between us, and clearly it's an extremely vital relationship. If things don't go well with France, France is the gateway to the whole European continent.
If France cared about us, if Macron absolutely gave anything, I'm with you, Carol. We're all on the edge, aren't we, this morning?
Just get the bleeping machine out.
If he gave a flying dinghy about any of us, he would be working harder to stop 20,000 migrants coming over here.
Macron's first interest, and I'm no defender of Macron. I've slagged him.
Well, you have since you've been in the studio.
Many occasions, no. I don't like the guy. I certainly wouldn't vote for him if I was French. But his first interest is the French people. Just as you wouldn't expect Starmer to be looking out for the French people.
But that's my point. Starmer isn't
diplomacy is building relationships.
This is the point. Starmer is depending too much on another country to secure our borders.
Right.
This is the problem. It is not Macron's job to secure our borders, it's our job. And yet Starmer, because he's so embedded to the EU and to the bloc...
Not.
Yeah, oh, please.
Oh, it's not even just the EU.
I wish he was,
You're just saying stupid things now.
It's all the global
He's
leaders.
just given away our fishing rights again for the next 12 years to the EU.
And we should have done the deal. You want to get more fish? Sort the migrants out.
Sort the migrants out, and you didn't. And this is the thing with Starmer. He caves in. He can't lead, so he looks to people who he thinks can lead, and Macron is taking the mickey out of us.
I think it's politically...
The thick end of £1 billion quid over the last decade, and we've got more migrants than ever before.
John,
this is a shared
do you not
problem.
think this has been a political error by the Prime Minister to have a summit, a French state visit for a president who's on the way out anyway, who's got no parliamentary majority, people don't like him, the migrants crisis is getting worse. Why on earth did the Prime Minister give him this honour in the first place?
I think that, look, it's, as we know, the leaders of a country are not the country themselves. The relationship between Britain and France is incredibly important. It always has been. And so this is the first state visit that we've had with a leader of, with a European country, not a leader of the a European country since Brexit. And it's very important, optics and politics, the government to...
What's it done for Britain?
Politics is often optics, Carol.
This is not the reality. The reality is that Macron hates us and always has.
He doesn't hate us. He's Anglophile.
He has never forgiven us over Brexit.
And the big deal, always lending us the bio tapestry for a year, which was announced, by the way, in 2018 when Theresa May was Prime Minister. So it's not even a new deal.
Do you know what he's doing now?
Theresa May had a terrible deal.
He's doing what Starmer is currently doing. His own country is in a mess. It's in flames. This country is, and both of the leaders of countries swanning around the international stage, grandstanding, looking like they're important. In France, his parliament is paralysed. They can't pass any laws. They can't do anything because they hate him so much, and all the parties are...
Paris is full of tents with illegal migrants again, living homeless, making the streets more dangerous.
Can I just establish the position of the panel? Is the position of the panel that we shouldn't have state visits with any European country?
Not with Macron currently.
Not right now.
Is France, is France not an important ally and partner?
They're not behaving like one.
Don't tell us you can't afford to give pensioners 300 quid each and then literally roll out the red carpet for a piece of theatre, which is what this is.
How are those two things related?
Because we keep being told we've got no money, we've got no money. We've got no money.
Cost any money.
We've got no money.
This is diplomacy. This is how diplomacy works. You have sort of summits with other countries that are important allies.
We are paying $4 billion a year to house these wretched illegal migrants who are crossing the Channel, and we're having a state visit. We're bowing and scraping to the French president.
Can we talk about outrageous?
We are.
Them over.
The king was waved out here.
Years ago as well.
What about, and I really have issue, I take issue with Prince Charles.
King Charles.
King Charles. I can't get used to it. With King Charles over this, because, you know, him and Macron are very good mates because of their the environment, on climate change and everything. That is still no reason for a state visit. And Charles is doing what the Queen never did, which is getting directly involved in political issues.
How is he?
Because one of the reasons that Macron is here is because of their views on climate change.
It's the government that invites. It's not the king personally who invites.
Oh, isn't it?
No, obviously formally it is. But it's on the advice of the government. If the government didn't want Macron to be here, he wouldn't be here.
Charles wants him to be here.
Well, look, it doesn't matter what the king says. The king's speech is governed by the government.
OK, what do you think we're going to get out of this thing?
Nothing. With the bio tapestry.
Oh, yeah.
Carol, it's one of these questions.
Starting one of our great defeats by a French king.
Out of it, having good neighbourly relations with your closest and one of your richest allies is important.
To what end? I don't care if we're best friends with France or not.
Good relations. The migrant boats are one issue where we would need cooperation. If we went with my idea of having asylum processing centres in France, that would require cooperation with the French as well. There are all kinds of ways in which we need to work with France, not just about migration, but the big issues of our day.
Do you really think that this thing we're supposed to be sending 50 back? Do you really think that's going to happen? Because I don't for one second.
I'm sure that will happen, but it's really it's the tip of the iceberg.
Yet again,
it's still important to have
the press conference at 3:30, which are happening in Martin Daubney show, will be fascinating.
But yet again, what we've heard from Starmer there is talking about strengthening the relationship with France, strengthening energy security with France, strengthening defence policy with France, and protecting Ukraine. Yet again, every time he opens his mouth, it seems to be doing what's right for other countries.
Well, protecting Ukraine is right for us as well, Bev. We've discussed this before.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us know your thoughts at home. gbnews.com/your say. They will be back, and Carol and I will yet again avoid swearing in the next hour. First, though, 6-second news update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Good morning. The headlines at 10:30. Sir Keir Starmer's welcomed Emmanuel Macron to Downing Street for crunch talks to hammer out a migration deal after the pair admitted a new deterrent was needed to stop small boats crossing the English Channel.
This summit will signal a step change in our partnership to deliver greater prosperity and security for working people.
Kemi Badenoch is to call for health benefits to be restricted to people with the most serious conditions as she sets out her plans for welfare. Royal Mail is to be allowed to scrap Saturday's second-class stamp deliveries under a series of reforms proposed by the communications regulator. Former Conservative Party chairman Sir Jake Berry has defected to Reform UK. In a video posted to X, he said only Reform and Nigel Farage can deliver a Britain that we're proud of. And Novak Djokovic came back from a set down to beat Flavio Cobolli in 4, while Yannick Sinner allayed concerns over an elbow injury by cruising past Ben Shelton, setting up a mouth-watering men's semi-final at Wimbledon. And those are the latest headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Up next.
Sir Jake Berry, he was the Tory party chairman.
The old parties do not have what it takes to transform our country, to build a Britain we can believe in again. And that's why I've decided to join the Reform Party.
That is Sir Jake Berry, the former Conservative Party chairman. He's defected to Reform. He was a Conservative for 25 years. He's going to join us next to tell us why. Don't go anywhere, Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any fog or low cloud soon clearing away this morning, leaving plenty of blue skies and hot sunshine. Though a different story across the northwest. More cloud and also some light outbreaks of rain and drizzle just starting to clip in to the far west of Scotland, and mostly cloudy skies for the first part of the day across Northern Ireland. But elsewhere across England and Wales, eastern parts of Scotland, plenty of blue skies and plenty of sunshine. It is going to be feeling hot in that sunshine though, particularly across central areas and parts of the southeast. We're expecting highs to reach 30 degrees Celsius, so UV levels are set to be high, so do take care if you're out and about in the sunshine this afternoon. Like I said, though, slightly different across parts of Scotland. Still plenty of clouds, still by the end of the day, particularly across northern areas of Scotland. Still some light outbreaks of drizzle here. But elsewhere across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, particularly Northern Ireland, actually, that cloud is really going to break up into the afternoon, allowing more sunny spells to break through. But elsewhere across England and Wales, the clear skies are here to stay. So it should be a rather pleasant end to the day. Still feeling warm, and it is set to be quite a mild night, once again, particularly across the southeast. And any rain and drizzle soon clearing the far north of Scotland too, though we might just start to see some low cloud through the early hours, particularly around the Irish Sea, which may clip into coastal counties at times, but otherwise dry, settled, and another mild night to come. Temperatures mostly staying around the mid to high teens overnight, so once again a warm start to finish off the week, and mostly settled for many areas. A return of the blue skies, any low cloud once again soon clearing through the first part of the morning, and even across western Scotland seeing a much better day, less cloud and more in the way of blue skies. And once again, it is going to be feeling hot still across central areas and parts of the southeast, warming up nicely too across Scotland, where we are expecting temperatures in the mid to high 20s, but just creeping in to around 30 degrees Celsius across the southeast.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. In Solihull, the M42 southbound is severely delayed due to a police incident, closing all lanes between junction 5 and 4. Expect 1.5 hour longer wait than normal. In Hampshire, M3 westbound between junction 5 and 6 faces 15-minute delays due to a collision blocking one of 3 lanes. In Essex, a collision on A12 southbound has closed one of 2 lanes between junction 16 and 15. Roadworks affect M4 westbound at junction 23A, with off-slips closed and diversions. And on the trains, Great Western Railway faces disruptions at Worcester Shrub Hill, while Hull Trains operates a reduced service. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
(10:37) Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Bev. So the former Tory party chairman Sir Jake Berry has defected to Reform UK. In a video posted to Twitter, he says only Reform and Farage can deliver a Britain we're proud of.
Let's go now to GB News' political editor Christopher Hope, who is with Jake Berry now. Chris.
That's right, Andrew and Bev. In the past 3 days, Kevin Badenoch has lost 2 former cabinet ministers to Reform UK, and the latest defection is Sir Jake Berry, the former party chairman. Jake Berry, why are you joining Reform UK?
Chris, I've decided that Britain is broken. I don't think any... look, this won't be a surprise, by the way, to GB News viewers. They can see me on your channel quite often, setting out the concerns I have with immigration, taking away of support from children with the abolition of the EHCP, all of these things. And I don't believe, even having been at the centre of government for 14 years as a Conservative MP, that either of the old parties have a plan to build Britain back into the country that we can be proud of again. Nigel Farage has. He's straight talking, he's head of a party that listens to people, listens to their concerns. He's the right man for the job, and I'm going to spend however long it is between now and the next election and beyond campaigning to ensure that he is made our Prime Minister and that Reform form the next government here in the UK.
Have you told Kevin Badenoch in person, and what did she say to you?
Look, I'm not in touch with Kemi. I'd in fact left the Conservative Party a while ago.
You stopped being a member a while ago?
I stopped being a member of the Conservative Party a while ago. I've been on quite a long journey. I found myself getting sort of more and more concerned about the state of Britain, and I know that Nigel Farage and the Reform Party are the party who have the vision, the values to ensure that Britain can be rebuilt again.
You've been on your own journey, haven't you? Back Boris Johnson, then Tom Tugendhat, and now Nigel Farage. What do voters make of that journey?
Well, I think they'd say that politics is probably a bug that it's quite hard to kick. I lost my seat just over a year ago. I thought that was probably the end of my time in politics. But, if you look at the issues facing Britain, our streets here are lawless. You can barely walk down the street in major cities across the UK without someone trying to nick your phone out of your hand. We have uncontrolled migration. No one can get a GP's appointment. And I know, because I've been there, that neither the Conservative Party nor the Labour Party have what it takes to really transform Britain and build it back into a country that we can believe in.
But it looks a bit opportunistic, doesn't it? I mean, you've got the Reform UK ahead in the polls, 29 points, 27 points, Labour 23 points, Tories 20 points. You're basically going with the party that might win the next election.
Well, I really hope the Reform Party does win the next election, because I think it's the only thing that can get Britain moving again. Look, we as a nation, in my view, are drinking in the last chance saloon. We've got one more chance to get this right. I don't think any of the traditional parties, have what it takes to do that, and that's why, call it opportunistic or not. I mean, look, by the way, it's not a very easy thing to do, to leave a political party that you've been supporting.
15 years.
Well, I've been supporting it for over 30 years, Chris, and, it was a huge decision. It's not one I've taken lightly, but we've got a choice here in this country. We can either be like the 16,500 people who give up on Britain and apparently have left in the last 12 months. We can either wring our hands and say, decline is our destiny, or we can stand and fight to make things better, fight for a better Britain. And that, by joining Reform, by supporting Nigel Farage to be our next Prime Minister, that's the choice I've made.
Have you been promised any role by Nigel Farage to come across?
No, it's early days. I just want to do all I can to support him and the party and, to ensure that we can go on that journey.
We're speaking a week when David Jones, the former Welsh Secretary under David Cameron, he announced he was joining Reform UK on Monday. You announced your plan to Wednesday. Is there a whole slew of you coming across from the Tory party? I know you quit the party a while ago.
Look, I think what makes Reform different is its ability to appeal to people, for those people who have strong political views, may have been in political parties previously, people have no political views. Look at Zia Youssef, a leading British entrepreneur who's come to Reform, bringing his expertise in that sector, people from the business community. people from the Labour Party, people from across the political spectrum saying, now is the time to do something different. What binds us all together isn't what party we may have been a member of at some point in the past, is our belief in the future, our belief that Britain has one more chance to get it right, that decline isn't the same as destiny. We can ensure that Britain can become a country we can believe in again.
Do you worry though that that some of the policies are a bit unrealistic, lifting the rate at which you pay income tax to £20,000 a year? That will cost tens of billions of pounds. For some critics, they say this party is Liz Truss on steroids. It's going to prompt a run on the pound, risk the economy, take a big risk with our country's future.
Chris, the political sort of stitch-up we've had in the country for the last 20 years, I hold my hands up, I may have been part of it, but I did rail against, for example, Rishi Sunak putting up national insurance. I tried to toughen up the Rwanda bill. I did try and change things from the inside. It has left Britain in a position where we have a taxation system that is driving away wealth creators and our brightest and best from our country, and a benefits system that is attracting the global poor to come here to live their lives on benefits with no checks and balances whatsoever. If you wanted to design a system to destroy our country, to destroy our society, to rail against that British sense of fair play and everyone gets a fair chance, you would struggle to put us in the position we are in today. That does not have to be the case. There's an opportunity for real change, and things like reducing taxes, getting control of our borders, doing all the things that people are crying out for in this country. That opportunity exists within reform with Nigel Farage as our next Prime Minister.
Well,
do you think Kevin Bayliss will be the leader of the Tory party at the next election?
That was Jake Berry setting out his stall for you. If you were a potential reform voter, did he win you over? GBNews have come forward, that's your say. Let us know. Up next.
Now, next friend of the show, Matthew Talbot's going to be with his partner, Sharon Gafka, a former civil servant who's aiming to be crowned Miss Universe. He's certainly punching. She's very beautiful and very clever.
And we love, and so is Matthew. Matthew, you are also beautiful and you are also clever. What a wonderful match made in heaven.
Called beautiful.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter
perhaps.
these days. Very.
First, though, want some holiday sun? Here's the forecast.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm Gabriel is set to affect many areas of Central Europe, and to the east of this, the intense heat wave continues, triggering some thunderstorms at times. But across many areas of Western Europe, largely settled, some showers at times, but it is going to be feeling warm in the sunshine. The main shower risk is as we move our way eastwards, particularly along the Adriatic coastline and then also parts of Greece. So once again, we could see some intense thunderstorms, but for many areas, plenty of sunshine and plenty of warm temperatures too.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Bev. We're on the sofa because we've got some very special guests, haven't we?
We have. Matthew Torbett, who's a former Labour advisor, of course, is with us every week, with his partner, who is competing to be Miss Universe, Sharon Gafka. Sharon, hello, welcome. We've not met, I don't think.
We've briefly met in green rooms, but
OK.
I know you, but you probably didn't know me.
Right. Right.
But people watching this might know you from Love Island.
Yes.
Which is a controversial show to do, isn't it, in some ways? Was it an easy decision to do Love Island?
I think, I mean, I don't know if you guys know much about my professional background before Love Island, but I worked during COVID and Brexit as a civil servant, so I was like, I'm ready for a bit of a different experience.
Which ministry were you in?
So I worked with Matt Hancock in the Department of Health. And,
gosh, lucky you.
I can't remember who I was in Brexit because I floated around different departments, but it was a very crazy time to be in government.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how did you two meet?
Like all good 21st century relationships, online. Sharon had political ambitions. I saw a video of her talking about it, and I actually was very platonic at first. I thought, this is my next project. She looks good, she sounds good. We could have a Love Island to cabinet pipeline. And then I met her, and I can't lie, I fell for her from minute one. And why wouldn't you? You know, that's
nice
totally
is that?
felt. So yeah.
And yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Tell us about beauty pageants. I mean, because they are, some people say they're outrageous, they objectify women. You know all the arguments, Sharon.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, if I had £1 for every time I heard one of those arguments, but I think that, you know, I would describe myself as a feminist, and to me, feminism is choosing what you want to do.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you know, old-fashioned beauty pageants were very much about your measurements and they would be read out on stage. But actually, every single woman I meet at these pageants have amazing careers, and some of them doctors, lawyers. One of them's become a reform counsellor in the Midlands somewhere. So, you know, very vast array of women, and it's hard, if you met any of them, it's hard to say that they're doing something anti-feminist and old-fashioned.
And do you still have political ambitions? Would you want to be an MP one?
I think at this current juncture, it's a little bit up in the air. I mean, I'm an ambassador for Refuge, and most of my work is around working with women surviving domestic abuse and restarting their lives, and that's probably where I want to put the majority of my focus now.
How much do you advise Sharon Matthew with your political hat on? Is it a kind of, you know, is it a relationship of equals where you discuss these things, or is he a bit patronising to you sometimes, Sharon?
Oh, no. Matthew definitely knows his place, I think.
There we are. And yes, I do. We'll go with that. Yeah. No, I think we discuss everything at home, and we have debates. We don't agree on everything, but we broadly agree on lots, which I think is sort of important sometimes in a relationship. I think she advises me more, actually, than I advise her these days. So, yeah, no, it's definitely a couple of equals, I would say.
Do you admire any women in politics, particularly, Sharon?
I mean, I think there's lots of impressive things that women have done, but I think that I would like to see something different. I would want to see more younger women in politics, I think, so that I feel like I can then therefore move into politics. At the moment, I feel like it's something that I have to look forward to in, like, 40 years.
And isn't that because it's not particularly family-friendly as well, I think? And also, women just aren't really presented with politics at school. A lot of boys aren't, actually, in the state system, aren't get presented with politics. You'll know that, Matt. And, you know, nobody ever said to me at school, we should go and work in politics. All the people I met at university who'd been to private school and school, they'd all been suggested that as an option. There's a massive class issue here, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm state school educated as well, and at the beginning of the week, I went to an all-girls school. I went to ask some of these young women whether they think 16-year-olds should be allowed to vote and where they think their political decisions will lie once they reach the ballot box. And, you know, the career advisor at that school told me that I should probably rethink something a little bit more realistic in terms of what I can achieve.
Really?
Not because of my intelligence or anything else, it's just because
you're a girl.
Well, because I'm a woman, and also because the fact I'm state educated.
If you win Miss Universe, what does that mean for your world? Are you then an ambassador for Miss Universe for a year?
Yeah, so firstly, I'll go to Cardiff at the end of this month and I'll compete with 34 other women for the title and the opportunity to represent Great Britain at Miss Universe in Thailand.
Right.
So I'll go to Thailand for 3 weeks. But obviously, if I win Miss Universe, and Great Britain has never won a Miss Universe crown, I'd be the first one. And it would be basically mean I'll work with women's organisations for an entire year. I'll travel with the organisation. And, yeah, my life will probably change more drastically than it did when I went into Love Island.
And if you then go into politics somewhere down the line, do you worry that journalists would always just describe you as ex-Love Island contestant and Miss Universe, and therefore you wouldn't be taken seriously?
I get that already. So I have done a lot of work with women's organisations. I've helped change legislation in terms of how we view spiking and the support we give survivors of sexual abuse. But that is still the slack that I get, that I am still just someone on Love Island. It comes down to 3 weeks of me being in a bikini, but I know we'd never say that about men. My mum gave me some very harsh words when I was a kid about, you know, having to work harder to prove myself, and I think that that's made me very resilient. And
Matthew, is there anything in your... Do you sometimes think, all these blokes are looking at my other half in a certain way? Does that trouble you?
No, I'm very secure in who I am, in my relationship. I know we are, you know, totally, deeply committed to one another. If anything, it's a compliment, the fact that, you know, many men are no doubt envious, and I am well aware I'm punching well above my weight.
Well, the producers just said to me, make sure you say, Matthew, you're punching a bit above your weight there, aren't you?
No, absolutely.
Stunningly beautiful, clever woman.
Andrew, there is a lot that a good personality and a northern accent will do for you, so I put it down to that, actually.
Well, I think you're very nice together.
And confidence is very attractive, isn't it, Sharon?
I agree. I think that, I mean, Matthew was very shy when we first met, but not so much now.
Would you not be? I'm not being funny.
She's stunning.
The first time we met, Matthew actually did shake my hand in a very awkward encounter.
No.
So,
Professional.
Listen, when you're a political power couple, or the political power couple in this country, remember you saw them here first.
And the very best of luck.
Don't go anywhere, here's your weather.
Best of luck.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any fog or low cloud soon clearing away this morning, leaving plenty of blue skies and hot sunshine. They're a different story across the northwest. More cloud and also some light outbreaks of rain and drizzle just starting to clip in to the far west of Scotland, and mostly cloudy skies for the first part of the day across Northern Ireland. But elsewhere across England and Wales, eastern parts of Scotland, plenty of blue skies and plenty of sunshine. It is going to be feeling hot in that sunshine though, particularly across central areas and parts of the southeast. We're expecting highs to reach 30 degrees Celsius, so UV levels are set to be high, so do take care if you're out and about in the sunshine this afternoon. Like I said, though, slightly different across parts of Scotland. Still plenty of clouds, still by the end of the day, particularly across northern areas of Scotland. Still some light outbreaks of drizzle here, but elsewhere across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, particularly Northern Ireland, actually that cloud is really going to break up into the afternoon, allowing more sunny spells to break through. But elsewhere across England and Wales, the clear skies are here to stay, so it should be a rather pleasant end to the day. Still feeling warm, and it is set to be quite a mild night once again, particularly across the southeast, and any rain and drizzle soon clearing the far north of Scotland too, though we might just start to see some low cloud through the early hours, particularly around the Irish Sea, with may clip into coastal counties at times, but otherwise dry, settled, and another mild night to come. Temperatures mostly staying around the mid to high teens overnight. So once again, a warm start to finish off the week, and mostly settled for many areas. A return of the blue skies, any low cloud once again soon clearing through the first part of the morning, and even across western Scotland seeing a much better day, less cloud and more in the way of blue skies. And once again, it is going to be feeling hot still across central areas and parts of the southeast, warming up nicely too across Scotland, where we are expecting temperatures in the mid to high 20s, but just creeping in to around 30 degrees Celsius across the south.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Who is he? What's he doing there?
They already know who you are, though.
Don't miss this special reunion. Eamon and Anne together again, only on GB News Breakfast this weekend from 6 a.m.
And is that a gardening tan?
No, it's a cypress tan.
It's 11 o'clock on Thursday, 10th of July, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
So is there a migrant deal, immigrant, that's going to keep you happy? 50 small boat migrants, 50 individuals, not boats, are going to be returned to France every week. Whoopie-doo. But we've got 44,000 illegals crossing the channel since last July. It's going to make no difference, is it?
France and the United Kingdom have a shared responsibility to address irregular migration with humanity, solidarity and firmness.
And confirmation what we've always known, sickness handouts will soon outpay the minimum wage jobs by a staggering £2,500 a year. No wonder so many people shirk and stay at home. When are we going to rethink the welfare system?
The old parties do not have what it takes to transform our country, to build a Britain we can believe in again. And that's why I've decided to join the Reform Party.
That was Sir Jake Berry, the former Conservative Party chairman. He's defected to Reform. He's been a Conservative for 25 years. He was chatting to Christopher Hope this morning.
They've responded with 5 days of strike action, which, as far as I'm concerned, is both unreasonable and unnecessary.
That's Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary. Why doesn't he say what they really are? Greedy. They got a 23% pay rise last year. They're demanding a 29% pay rise this year. They're going on strike for 5 days later this month.
And what do you think of this? Boat bonfire backlash. Effigies of life jacket-wearing migrants have been placed on a village bonfire in Northern Ireland. It's been condemned as sickening and racist. Is it just a political statement?
And our pubs are in peril. More than one pub a day is set to close in Britain this year. Drinking at home, sky-high business costs are killing what is, of course, a great British institution.
So that bonfire. Now, every year they put something controversial on the top of it. It's like it's a kind of combination of this sort of art and its political statement. I don't like that, I can't lie. I saw it online late last night and it did take my breath away. I didn't like the symbolism of the people in the boat. Do you know what I wouldn't have had a problem with? Filling that boat with the politicians who are making these decisions.
Well, what they could have put in there was an effigy of Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer.
Do you see what I mean? Like, that would have been more of a political statement because, as I've said before, I wish no ill on the people, the individuals who want to get out of their horrible, poverty-stricken, disgusting countries, come and live here. Which of us wouldn't want to do that? I don't wish any harm on those individuals, but the system I have a massive problem with. And the politicians who are waving them through, by all means make effigies of them in the boat. People have been burning politicians' effigies for years.
Well, they do it in that place in Sussex every November the 5th, don't they?
Yeah.
Sometimes they burn an effigy of the Pope.
Yep. Well, yeah, that's a little controversial. Right, let us know what you think. GBNews.com/, your say. Let's get some news headlines now with Tatiana Sanchez.
Bev, thank you. The top story, Sir Keir Starmer's welcomed Emmanuel Macron. He's hosting him at Downing Street for crunch talks to hammer out a migration deal after the pair admitted a new deterrent was needed to stop small boats crossing the English Channel. The Prime Minister hopes the French President will sign up to a one-in, one-out deal when they hold their Franco-British summit at Number 10 today, the last day of Mr Macron's state visit to the UK. Under the new deal, up to 50 migrants could be returned to France weekly, but some are saying it doesn't go far enough. It comes as more than 44,000 migrants reached British shores illegally via small boats since last year's general election. The Prime Minister spoke a short while ago.
This summit will signal a step change in our partnership to deliver greater prosperity and security for working people, building on our new agreement with the EU, which of course you referenced last night. In uncertain times, we achieve more by strengthening our relationship with our allies. So that is what today is all about, working together on the priorities that we share as two nations. For us, it's about delivering the changes that the British people want to see. We all agree the situation in the Channel cannot go on as it is. So we're bringing new tactics into play and a new level of intent to tackle illegal migration.
Defence Secretary John Healey says progress is being made with illegal channel crossings.
There's no one solution to this, but we've also seen for the first time last week, and we need to see more, French police in shallow waters stopping the boats in France. And it's steps like... Yeah, of course. Correct. But it represents the recognition and agreement for the first time from the French that they are changing the rules for what their police can do to allow that sort of action. And we're discussing now the implementation of that, alongside trying to get the new Borders Bill through Parliament to give our agencies the sort of counter-terrorism powers they need to try and deal with the smuggling gangs.
Kemi Badenoch is to call for health benefits to be restricted to people with the most serious conditions as she sets out her plans for welfare. In a speech today, the Tory leader will warn of a ticking time bomb of welfare dependency as government forecasts suggest annual spending on health and disability benefits could reach £70 billion by 2030. Other projections suggest the figure could go as high as £100 billion, while the Office for Budget Responsibility has warned that failing to cut the rate at which people take up benefits could cost an extra £12 billion. Royal Mail is to be allowed to scrap Saturday second-class stamp deliveries under a series of reforms proposed by the communications regulator. From the 28th of July, Royal Mail will also be allowed to deliver second-class letters on alternate weekdays, Ofcom says. The post will still be delivered within 3 working days of collection from Monday to Friday. These proposals had already been raised by Ofcom after a consultation was announced last year. The scale-back was proposed early this year. Royal Mail had repeatedly failed to meet the so-called universal service obligation to deliver post within set periods of time. The company, though, has welcomed the new move. Former Conservative Party chairman Sir Jake Berry has defected to Reform UK. In a video posted to X, he said only Reform and Nigel Farage can deliver a Britain that we're proud of. Here he is speaking to GB News' Christopher Hope.
Setting out the concerns I have with immigration, taking away of support from children with the abolition of the EHCP, all of these things. And I don't believe, even having been at the centre of government for 14 years as a Conservative MP, that either of the old parties have a plan to build Britain back into the country that we can be proud of again. Nigel Farage has. He's straight-talking, he's head of a party that listens to people, listens to their concerns. He's the right man for the job, and I'm going to spend however long it is between now and the next election and beyond campaigning to ensure that he is made our Prime Minister and that Reform form the next government here in the UK.
In other news, the third heat wave of the summer is set to hit the UK by the end of the week, forecasters say, with Wimbledon fans and players in for a sweltering weekend. The Met Office said the Tennis Championship's women's final on Saturday and the men's final on Sunday could see temperatures of more than 30 degrees. Scotland's also due to hit the heat wave threshold, with temperatures on the east coast forecast to be up to 31 degrees on Saturday and potentially break local records. Despite not being as warm as the heat wave at the start of July, the Met Office says the hot spell is forecast to last longer and cover a broader area. And Novak Djokovic came back from a set down to beat Flavio Cobolli in 4, while Jannik Sinner allayed concerns over an elbow injury by cruising past Ben Shelton, setting up a mouth-watering men's semi-final at Wimbledon. Their meeting tomorrow is a rematch of the 2023 Final Four meeting between the two, Sinner's best prior run at Wimbledon, in which Djokovic triumphed in straight sets. 2 years on, however, Sinner represents a much sterner prospect. The 23-year-old now ranked world #1, having won 3 Grand Slams over the past 18 months. 38-year-old Djokovic, a 7-time winner at Wimbledon. He's looking to win a record 25th Grand Slam title. That would break his current tie with Margaret Court. And those are the latest headlines for now. More news in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
And here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3608 and €1.1601. The price of gold, £2,444 and 66 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 8,968 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We'll have a look at what you've been saying at home here. PW has said, Matthew Torbett, well done, with some clapping emojis.
She is stunning, isn't she?
It's a nice lady too. This is Sharon Gafka. That was Matthew's girlfriend. Whether you've just been watching or not, she's entered Miss Universe. If you want to support Sharon, therefore, Great Britain in Miss Universe, we're looking at a picture of her here. We are going to tell you how you can do that, because you can send a text message.
Yep.
We will get you the information on how you can do that. I think you text GB. Anyway, we'll find the details, don't you worry.
We will.
Because we want to support Sharon and to support
I did write it down, but typically I can't.
Suganid, good morning, has said...
I think it's GB Sharon 6343, but we're going to double check.
We're going to check that. Jake Berry was only chair for 40+ days. He is out. Labour is in, thanks to Reform splitting the vote. And Janet says the people of Northern Ireland are fed up of illegals coming over and being involved in some sexual assaults as well. This is about the bonfire that we've seen with the effigies, alleged, of course. And Royal Engineer veteran, I'm so glad you sent this message. He says, I'm getting a bit sick to death of GBNews' constant attack on people on benefits. I was shot in Iraq and blown up in Afghanistan. I've had multiple organ removals. I was in a coma, spending 4 years in hospital, where I contracted sepsis 7 times. I have GBNews on every day, and you're making me feel like a leper. We are so sorry.
Yeah.
You are exactly the person who should be entitled to disability benefit. And when we get frustrated with people who are claiming it unfairly, it is for people like you, because you absolutely deserve it. And you are right to remind us that we need to draw a distinction between those who are swinging the lead and taking money out of your pocket.
I object to 19-year-olds who've got anxiety getting a personal independence payment. Pull yourself together and get a job.
Yeah, but as we say, being at home and being having your disability in that sense indulged doesn't do you any good.
No good.
You just get more depressed and more isolated.
All the research shows if you have work, that's one of the best antidotes to depression and anxiety.
And Paddy said, Bev, there are only dummies in the boat on the bonfire. It's not real. I know that, but I don't think neither of us like that effigy.
My worry is it will incite people to attack migrants, and we don't want that.
No, we don't. We don't. I think it's really distasteful. I really do. Get over yourself, Bev, says Catherine. They're invading our country and taking away from our own people. Many who are suffering here. Fight for your country. Don't invade others. I agree with that. But as I say, don't blame the individuals. Blame the system. Because I promise you, Catherine, if you and I lived a life of poverty in Eritrea, I'd be straight on one of those boats over here. I just would.
As Nigel pointed out, Nigel Farage on that boat, the boat he saw, 70 people on board, was it 1 woman and 3 children? The rest were men of around 30. They're economic migrants, a lot of them. That is the problem.
That is the problem.
They're coming here because we're a soft touch on benefits. And as Macron said in his speech, that intensely irritating French president said, there are pull factors which we've done nothing to deal with.
We are a wonderful country.
That's right.
And there is no wonder thousands of people want to come and live here.
They want to learn English too.
But I'm so sorry, we cannot take everybody. We just can't take everybody. Right, the Prime Minister is set to strike a one-in, one-out migrant deal with the French, which is a ridiculous system, as President Emmanuel Macron's state visit comes to a close today.
It's going to be 50 migrants could be returning to France a week. 50. Only 50.
44,000 migrants reached British shores via small boats since the 2024 general election. 20,600 so far this calendar year, 2025.
50% on last year.
Let's go to Dover, where Home and Security Editor Mark White is waiting to talk to us. Mark, you don't have to be a statistician to work out that the odds are still in your favour if you're working out whether you're going to be allowed to stay and get on a boat. There's no deterrent inherent in this, is there?
No, you're right, because those odds are massively in your favour. At most, we're talking about 2,500 over the course of a year, given the current totals that are crossing the Channel, who would be returned to France. So the vast majority of those individuals, last year 36,000, so 33 and a bit thousand would still be allowed to stay in the UK and who would not be returned. I should say we're back in Dover Harbour now, having gone on this fishing trip this morning where the catch of the day wasn't just the aquatic life but also the lesser spotted Channel migrant, and we saw that Channel boat, migrant boat in the middle of the English Channel with its French escort, with that Border Force patrol vessel that came to meet it, with 3 other rigid inflatables, with a support ship that takes away the inflatable, with a drone overhead. There are very significant costs at play just in dealing with one migrant boat, and that was one of multiple migrant boats. We're being told that at least 300 migrants are making the crossing today again, the first day of sort of calm weather over the last 5 days. And we got calm weather for the next 2 or 3 days, so likely that we'll see more in the way of crossings until at least Saturday. Well, we were here at the invite of the Reform leader Nigel Farage, who caught a few fish himself while he was here, but of course saw that migrant pick up just yards from this boat. This is what he told us a little earlier.
This is a classic day in the English Channel over the last 5 years when the weather's calm, or a red day as they call it. And yes, you've got a migrant boat, and we've seen it through the binoculars. There's about 70 people on board being escorted all the way over by the French Navy, and behind us we have Border Force sitting on waiting for the handover, and we've paid 800 million.
So, of course, as far as this deal, one in, one out is concerned, there are going to be lots of critics, without a doubt, probably at the news conference that Sir Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron host. People picking holes in whether, 50 migrants every week is actually any kind of deterrent. So expect them to talk about all of the additional things that they're doing, the boosting of border security in France, the change of tactics that will allow the French police to be more robust. All I'll say on that is I've heard now for years talk of the French police becoming more robust, and it lasts a while and then it just disappears, and the boats keep on coming in ever greater numbers.
And no other channel seems to be that bothered. I just want to point that out.
Well, and we are making the point. This is happening as the Prime Minister is sitting down, jaw-jawing with the President of France, who's taken £800 million of our money and banked the money, done nothing with it. Extraordinary.
It is.
And there'll be a press conference later today, and they will talk about the new era of cooperation. And by the way, did I spot on a EU flag behind the Prime Minister?
I'd have to double check, but I think there was. Some of you were getting in touch to say there was an EU flag behind.
Does the Prime Minister not know we left the EU?
This
we voted
feels
to leave.
very, very EU-y,
It does.
isn't it? It's extremely EU. It's got full of EU-ness this last week, these 3 days.
Macron mentioned Brexit in his speech in the Houses of Parliament, and he mentioned Brexit this morning.
As a negative.
As a negative.
Yeah. He's not talking about it as a positive, is he? It's all terribly lovely.
Get over it, Mr.
Strengthening
Macron.
ties, strengthening our relationship, Starmer says, strengthening our energy security, strengthening our defence responsibility. Basically, just being closer, cozying up to the French. Right. Still time to grab your chance to win the biggest cash prize so far. Tax-free, £54,321.
Very nice.
Here's all the details.
You have the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax, and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, if you want to vote for Sharon Gafka, who is the other half of Matthew Talbot, there she is. If you're listening on the radio, there's a photograph of her looking absolutely stunning. She could be Miss Universe. So what you have to vote for, you text GB Sharon to text GB Sharon 64343. Text costs £1 and you can vote up to 20 times per day.
So text, just a normal text message, not WhatsApp, not email, just a text message, old school. GB Sharon 64343. It'll cost you £1. And
she's worth it.
And she's worth it.
She's a stunner.
Up next.
A fantastic cartoon in the Telegraph this morning, we think, sums up the entire French state visit. There we are, Sir Keir Starmer, on bended knee, hailing His Majesty Macron in the throne. Doesn't that sum it up?
There is still room in the world for good political cartoonist satirist, even in a landscape of memes and a digital landscape of memes and clips and videos. The good old-fashioned cartoonist from the paper.
That is a brilliant cartoon. Brilliant cartoon. Fantastic. Now, coming up...
a break, and then we'll be back, so don't go anywhere.
With Carol and Jonathan.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. The clattering in the studio. Carol Malone, Jonathan Liss are back with us. And actually, you're looking quite summery today, Jonathan. Not too offensive, your shirt today.
Thanks, Beth. Which is unusual.
Which is unusual.
I never tried to offend anybody here.
Did you like the Telegraph cartoon, by the way?
I saw it, yes, where Tom was grovelling at the feet of President
I think
Macron.
it sums it up, really.
The
red carpet.
Blower, isn't it?
It is just
cartoonist.
disgusting.
Yeah.
We've had,
What did you think of a Miss Universe contestant?
I
She's
thought
stunning,
she was
isn't
very
she?
gorgeous. We saw her outside. She came in her coolers, which I thought was...
You're not allowed to say that.
No,
It's all right.
She
arrived in her rollers.
You have to be very beautiful to walk into a TV station in your coolers, and
Yeah.
she is incredibly beautiful.
Yeah, and clever.
And very clever.
And Bev managed to keep her composure when she said the cabinet minister she worked for was Matt Hancock.
During the
I thought she was going to have a complete
worked for
meltdown.
Matt Hancock?
She worked for Matt
She
Hancock
did.
during the
And I
pandemic.
thought,
Oh, my
I thought,
God.
hang on, Beverly, we are not going to turn this into a conversation about about the pandemic. We're going to talk about Miss Universe.
She had a lucky escape.
We'll do that behind the scenes somewhere. I'll get her in a headlock and find out what really happened.
Bev's eyes swiveling in her head.
Now, come on.
Talking about former awful Tories, can we talk about Jake Berry?
Yes, go.
Because
Hello.
What?
My friend Jake Berry. You're going to slate him off.
Oh, he's your friend now, Carol.
Oh, he's been my friend for the 6 months I've worked with him, Jonathan.
Well, let me tell you that I think that the Tories are well read. and reform's welcome to him.
This is very profound.
Look, this is
very personal.
You have people.
Have you ever met him?
Yes, I
How many
have.
times?
And he started. Look, he was hosting me on a rival TV network, and he's tried to start a pylon.
Not a rival, and also ran.
And he tried to start a pylon on me because we had a row over trans rights, and he tried to start a pylon on me afterwards, which I don't think you should do because it's substantive, but fair enough. So, like, obviously, there's a bit of personal animus, but besides that, I don't think he's a good politician. I think that he's personally arrogant. I think that he's not the kind of person that reform needs if they're going to broaden their appeal. I don't think that he is the right person for reform.
Who is? You might think that, but reform think he is because they've accepted him. But more importantly, that what he said in his statement was that he still cares enough about Britain to fight for it. He wants the Britain back that he knows and loves.
Yeah,
we
and
have
I agree
lost
with him.
under this Labour Party over the past 12 months. So I think it's
And to be honest, under the Tories as well for the last few years.
Exactly.
They were useless.
And he's been very fair about that. He's credited the Tories with a lot of failure.
Yeah.
I had a show with him every Monday here. And he has a go at the Tories on a regular basis, saying they're to blame for a lot of our woes. However, I think he's a great addition. I think he's going to bring a lot of publicity for reform.
Nobody knows who he is, Carol.
Well, he was. Maybe you don't, but he was the
I know
former
who he is.
Conservative Party chairman.
He's always like household names.
Quite a lot of people in politics.
How many politicians
are? How many politicians are?
I spoke to Suella Braverman at Nana's engagement party on Sunday, and she is the kind of person. Of course, she is the kind of person that I think would be a win-win. If someone like her were to jump ship, because her husband's already obviously
and I think she will.
If she does jump ship, that is kind of a win-win because it shows the Tory party is sort of getting rid of its fringes, and the Reform Party is sort of getting a big name. Because you might have over the course of the next couple of years, a lot of kind of also-rans of the Conservative Party or former big shots of the Conservative Party realise they're never going to get back into Parliament under this Tory party. So Reform is the only vehicle for them.
Why do you think Jake Berry? He's given the Tories a year to try and get better, to be something. And he's seen that they're going nowhere, that they're polling now. You know, there's Reform, Labour and then the Tories. Yeah. So that's why he's got out, because it's not going to do anything.
Because he's not going to get back into Parliament with the Conservatives.
It's not about, you're assuming that all politicians go into to politics just for themselves. And you've always had a go at me for saying that. He wants to change Britain. He wants Britain back to the way it was. To me,
he had years to do it, and he failed.
Reminds me a bit of Nigel, actually, because he's punchy. He's ballsy. He says what he thinks. And I think the people who are going to vote Reform want that.
And he did hold a Red Wall seat.
Yes, exactly.
Which he then lost.
Yeah, he did.
So did a lot of Tories, Jonathan, at the time.
A couple of days ago. They've sprung it on us again. They're doing this intermittently, apparently, because we have to all bear in mind that September the 7th, your phone is going to beep from the government whether you like it or not.
Oh, for goodness.
That's what it's going to do. Do you remember the emergency alert?
Mine didn't beep last time. Mine never went last time.
Well, maybe
I was away. I missed it.
Well, but isn't that the point, though?
I turned my phone off.
And what? Are you on board with this emergency alert system?
I think that if you are in a place where you have a number of natural disasters coming, it's really important to have.
What, like Preston?
Yeah. But you also, Bev, there are times there might be a major,
like what?
God forbid, like a major, like if you have a bomb somewhere or something.
We've had those in the past. We didn't need
all right. Well, if you had an enemy attack, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know. That's
an enemy attack. The government might need to contact us.
Are we going to be invaded?
Jonathan, you don't even really believe it, do you? Because Carol, this was the job of the media. This is what newspapers were meant to do. This is what online news sites are meant to do.
A newspaper can't ping your phone.
Your phone can have something breaks, a newspaper can get it online straight away. So I think, do you like the idea of the government being able to beep your phone whether you like it or not?
I don't, because I believe they'll do other sinister, awful things.
Correct.
Can you imagine in the Blitz if we'd had it? It would have been brilliant.
By the way, who gave the government my number anyway?
Why aren't we talking about... You were just talking about the benefits there, weren't you?
Just very quickly then, Karen, children playing outside in the heat, being told you can't.
This story is awful. This is in the Telegraph today, and this is schools all over this country are keeping children from playing outside, bringing them indoors because of the heat wave. There's no heat wave. This is summer.
Yes.
31, 32 degrees.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, you could fry eggs on the pavement. It was much hotter than it is now. However, not all the time. Before the climate change, people start bringing in. But I just think this is, we're raising a nation of terrified children. We're going to make them scared of summer. sunshine. We're telling them that sunshine is bad. And some of the reasons they've got for keeping them indoors is that they might brush against buildings that are made of metal, like cycle sheds or something, because they get too hot.
They won't do it again if they do it once.
But 31 degrees
That's how you learn.
heat the metal up to the point where it burns
you're going to be scalded to death.
It's just so stupid. So that's the thing is that it's just too hot to be outside safely. It is not.
But aren't there teachers who've got the backbone to stand up and say, come on, kids, get outside and toughen up?
There are, and I agree with Carol.
And they cancel sports days as well
because it's a very, very silly
weather.
story. I do think that you need to expose children to challenges.
It's not a challenge to go out in the sun, Jonathan. It's really not.
It is
You could wear a hat.
When you have a
You could wear a hat.
Mind,
You could have sunblock.
It's a mission, let me tell you.
Have some sun cream.
Do you know, there's a teacher called Chris McGovern here.
He's a great man. He's been on this programme many times.
I know him. I used to work with him.
In hot weather is keep kids indoors because it sends them nuts.
Correct.
He says they just go mad.
But do you know what the problem is? Even on my school WhatsApp group, when they cancelled the sports day last week, the number of mothers saying, "Oh, I'm so glad they've cancelled sports day. Isn't it a relief they've cancelled sports day?"
Cancelled because I hate
I
this
just
sport.
thought, what are you teaching your kids?
I know, exactly.
What are you teaching them?
To get
stay at home. Don't ever get outside your comfort zone. Because guess what? If they ever run in the Olympics, the chances are it's not going to be.
I was saying in the heatwave in 1976, which was much hotter than it's been this summer, we had to stay out on the school playfield. That was it. They didn't let us in.
No.
And we didn't expect to be
You could sit
let
under
in.
a tree.
Well,
something.
Well,
or put sun
we
cream
didn't have
on
that
or wear a
exotic.
hat.
We didn't have that exotic a playing field, Malone.
Did you not?
We didn't have trees on our
trees
playing
now,
field.
that's the trouble.
There were no
Right.
trees on our playing field. Wasn't very exotic, Swindon.
Jonathan, Carol, thank you so much. Let's get the news update with Tatiana.
The headlines at 11:30. Sir Keir Starmer's hosting Emmanuel Macron at Downing Street. The two are having crunch talks to hammer out a migration deal after admitting a new deterrent was needed to stop small boats crossing the English Channel.
This summit will signal a step change in our partnership to deliver greater prosperity and security for working people.
Ada Knox to call for health benefits to be restricted to people with the most serious conditions as she sets out her plans for welfare. Royal Mails to be allowed to scrap Saturday's second-class stamp deliveries under a series of reforms proposed by the communications regulator. The threat of physical attacks by Iran on people living in the UK has increased significantly since 2022, according to a new report by Parliament's intelligence watchdog. And Novak Djokovic came back from a set down to beat Flavio Cobolli in 4, while Yannick Sinner allayed concerns over an elbow injury by cruising past Ben Shelton, setting up a mouth-watering men's semi-final at Wimbledon. And those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Emily and Tom are here to tell us what's coming up on the show.
Well, we're looking forward to what should be a seismic agreement between France and the United Kingdom.
Yes.
We've been talking about it. Well, the government has been rolling the pitch for this for months, saying we're going to get a one-in, one-out deal. And yet, according to the French press, it's going to be a 17-in, one-out deal.
I'm starting to feel like this whole trip is a little bit humiliating.
So how many is that a week?
So it was
not even
50 hours a week. That represents about 5.9% of those coming across on a weekly basis at the moment, which is 1 in 17.
You take your chances. If you're happy to risk your life...
If you've got a 94% chance of staying in the United Kingdom,
you're going to get on that dinghy, aren't you?
Get on that boat.
Yeah, it's a joke. It really is. That's the best. He's going to be mocked and ridiculed. Does he realise that, the Prime Minister?
It is going to be ridiculed. And I think this whole state visit is going to go down as a bit of a humiliation.
I know.
He doesn't get anything better than that. It's so depressing.
He should never have called it in the first place.
Unless the government is doing a genius piece of expectation management.
I doubt
When has that ever happened?
What they've done is they've phoned up some of the French newspapers.
Yeah.
They've leaked a false story for us to talk about for the next 2 hours, and then, like a sort of triumphant victor, Sir Keir Starmer will walk out to that podium and say
500 a week.
Do you know what? It's 3 out, 1 in. I mean, it's
Macron is running rings around our Prime Minister,
really
and our Prime Minister is fawning on him. Oh, it's a European leader.
I know.
Fantastic.
And there was an EU flag somewhere in that proximity of that meeting.
Well, yes.
I think it's going to be...
And what Macron said about Brexit as well.
I know,
I'm
can't help
assuming
himself.
to thunderous applause.
But again, this shows a number 10 that perhaps doesn't quite understand where people are.
I quite agree with that.
They've talked up this meeting for a long, long time and made people actually have some very big expectations from it. And if they don't bring out something that is significant, it's going to be seen as a flop.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Emily and Tom from Midday, great show this afternoon. Next, though, resident doctors, also known as junior doctors, are going to strike again over money. Are they all gold diggers, or do you support them being paid more? This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello again. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Temperatures are rising. First day of a heat wave for some. Lots of sunshine around today. The main exception will be the northwest of Scotland. This weather front just grazing in here, bringing some thicker cloud over the Highlands, the Western Isles and the Northern Isles, and a little bit of patchy rain. But for most of us, this area of high pressure has been moving in. Light winds means it is quite murky around some coasts in the west, the Irish Sea coast. Keeping a little bit of sea fog in places here. And there's that thicker cloud across the Western Isles, bringing some spots of rain, maybe over the Highlands too. And we'll see a little bit more pushing into the Northern Isles later. But for most places, dry, sunnier than yesterday for many as well, and hotter. Temperatures over 30 degrees across the southeast up to the Midlands as well. And generally temperatures rising too for Scotland and Northern Ireland. A warmer day than yesterday through the central belt and across the east coast. Still a little cool and cloudy across the Northern Isles. A bit more rain heading to Shetland this evening, and a few spots of rain still over the Highlands and the Western Isles. But plenty of evening sunshine for Northern Ireland, Northern England, and further south as well. Blue skies pretty much all the way. Just always the threat of this mist and sea fog around these western coasts, and that's likely to thicken up through the Irish Sea again overnight. So the Isle of Man, the east coast of Northern Ireland, likely to see that mist and low cloud returning. The drizzly rain should tend to peter out from the Western Isles and eventually clear away from the Northern Isles too. So for many it's a dry night, clear night, pretty warm one in the south. Temperatures in urban areas may stay in the high teens. On to Friday. Dry and sunny, pretty much sums it up. Probably a sunnier day for the far northwest of Scotland, but it will start pretty grey across the east coast of Northern Ireland, southwestern coast of Scotland, and always the threat of this mist and low cloud returning at times around the west coast of Wales. But for many, hot and sunny, with temperatures more widely over 30 Celsius over the Midlands, and warmer again for Scotland and Northern Ireland too. Goodbye.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. It is 11:40. Let's see what you've been saying. At home, it's a statement, Bev, not reality. Calm down, dear. I think, Ernie, that is in relation to the bonfire with the effigy of
migrants in
a dinghy wearing life jackets to be burnt alive.
Yeah. Who pays for those life jackets, by the way? Do they get that from the people smugglers, or do we provide those too?
Oh, no, I think the people smugglers.
Oh.
Well, I mean, look...
£4,000.
Exactly. They're paying £4,000 for a life jacket and getting a free trip over thrown in, basically. Let's have a look what else you have to say. Alison would like to hear more about the other contestants on Miss Universe before blindly voting for the only one we've seen.
Oh, vote for her.
How very
Sharon,
fair, Alison.
Because it's Matthew's partner, and we like Matthew.
She's a friend of GB News, isn't she?
And she's a friend of GB News, and she supports GB News, which is great. Her dad's a big fan, too.
Yeah. Hello, Sharon's dad. Mr Gafka, good morning.
Yeah.
These people, like Bev, who live in closeted communities can be really annoying at times. Thank you, Ernie. Again, Ernie's got it in for me this morning because I said I didn't like that effigy of the people.
Do you think
on the
working
boat.
for Matt Hancock is what drove her out of the civil service and onto Love Island? Is that the story we take out of Sharon moving into Love Island and then becoming she's an internet influencer?
She is.
That's her job.
The junior doctors don't want any changes or privatisation in how the NHS is funded, says this GB News member. Thank you for your
They're
loyalty.
seeking, by the way, the doctors a 29% pay rise. They got 23% last year, straight away when Labour got in. They've been offered 5.4%, which is the biggest pay offer for anybody in the public sector, and they're going on strike for a month, which is outrageous. I think it's outrageous. The BMA is riddled with lefties. I did a big piece on that for the Mail last year. Riddled, the British Medical Association. It's the most militant trade union. It really is.
Right.
I thought all the strikes were going to stop when Labour won the election.
On that very issue, resident doctors in England will walk out for 5 days later this month. They're going to walk off the job at 7 o'clock on the 25th of July in a dispute over pay.
Are they being greedy? I think they are. Let's speak to the political commentator, Kane Blackwell. Kane, morning to you. Of course, I think we thought the strikes would end when Labour came to power. They got that huge pay rise to doctors last summer, 23%. But I suspect they think if they got the 23% last time, then get it again.
Well, exactly, Andrew. And, you know, that's exactly the point. We all knew this was going to happen. We all said it was going to happen when Labour did this. And I think the point is now is that they have had a 28% increase in their pay since 2022, 28.5% increase. You know, this isn't fairness. This is just taking the mickey, quite frankly. And, you know, doctors on £60,000 by the age of 30 claiming poverty is an insult to people. It's an absolute insult to people. And I think we really have to realise that these militant, like you said, Andrew, militant left-wing trade unions, the BMA is riddled with them, like you said. They are causing such pain to so many people in so many patients in the NHS. Their strike action will cost £25 million a day. That is absolutely outrageous. That's absolutely outrageous. And what really, really frustrates me is that these doctors do not come on and say we need to reform the NHS, that we need to tackle the waste in our system, and that we need to actually reform how we're funding the NHS. They come on and just ask for more and more money every single time, and hard-working taxpayers are funding them, and it's absolutely ridiculous. We need to actually cut the middle management.
Thank you, Kane. Let's bring in former NHS Trust CEO Dr Peter Carter, OBE. Peter, doctors are more bothered about money in their pocket than their patients.
No, I don't accept that, and I don't accept doctors are greedy, but I do think they're being unrealistic. This pay award is not going to happen. This government hasn't got the money, and this will lead to even more division if they were to do this. What I would say to the junior doctors is, look, the country is in a hell of a mess. This government's inherited it, and we don't want to debate that, but we are where we are. Last year, you got 22%, plus you're getting 5%. People in other sectors are getting nowhere near that. And it does hurt that they've had pay restraint for 14 years, but so has every other health worker. And what I would say to the doctors is get around the table with the government. Let's look for a long-term plan. But it is wholly unrealistic to think that this government is going to give anywhere near 29%.
Peter, would you say to them, do not go on strike?
I say don't go on strike. And I know that the doctors, and I talk to them every day, say things like, but patients are getting hurt. We're having to cancel now because of the pressures. But I was brought up, Andrew, to believe that 2 wrongs don't make a right. And whilst things are very difficult in the health service, this is going to make things that much worse. Now, it is unfair, and the austerity that was started by Cameron and Osborne was wrong. It didn't happen in many other Western European countries, but we are where we are. So I would say, call off the strike, get around the table, look to a long-term plan. Let's try and modernise the NHS. I'm not being party political here at all, but we've got to get behind the current Secretary of State. Got 29 billion coming into the health service. We want to make sure that that 29 billion is spent properly. Otherwise, if it's just thrown at the NHS, it will come back in a couple of years' time for more, and that's not going to help anyone.
Kane, you're nodding in some degree of agreement there.
No, 100%. And this has been the problem with the NHS. It's a sacred cow for far too long, and we haven't actually been able to tackle the real problems. I've seen it myself. My dad recently just passed away in an NHS hospital, and I've seen the care that he did get in one ward compared to 10 metres down the road in another ward. Absolutely night and day. You can't compare it. It's such a shame because people trust so much in the NHS, and it is letting people down left, right and centre, and it's wrong. And this strike is not a strike, it's a shakedown of the NHS. That's the problem. And we actually need to go in and reform the system. We need to actually get the money back onto the ground, give it to the nurses. I'm happy to give it to the doctors if the doctors are happy to actually reform the NHS. They all say, oh, we want to go off to Australia. Well, that's a part public, part private healthcare system. So if they're advocating for that, then that's a different story, but they're not. They just want more and more money, and it is not fair on the British taxpayer.
OK, thank you very much, both of you. Kane Blackwell there and Dr Peter Carter, OBE. Apologies if you also lost the audio there for Kane.
We lost some audio too. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen. Now, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of those European destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Storm Gabriel is set to affect many areas of Central Europe, and to the east of this, the intense heat wave continues, triggering some thunderstorms at times. But across many areas of Western Europe, largely settled, some showers at times, but it is going to be feeling warm in the sunshine. The main shower risk is as we move our way eastwards, particularly along the Adriatic coastline and then also parts of Greece. So once again, we could see some intense thunderstorms, but for many areas, plenty of sunshine and plenty of warm temperatures too.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Juber, Britain's News Channel.
News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's News Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
In the
GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, we talked about this earlier in the programme. Effigies of migrants on small boats in a village bonfire display in Northern Ireland have been branded sickening and racist.
So this is the display. You're looking at it here. It is an enormous tower of wooden pallets, and it's on the outskirts of Dungannon in County Tyrone. And at the top of it is a boat with 12 life-sized mannequins wearing life jackets, quite clearly meant to indicate immigrants. And the sign underneath says, "Stop the boat." I think the sign also says something about veterans should come before refugees.
And it's interesting, they put the Irish national flag on
It's a huge bonfire.
It is extraordinary. Let's go to GB News Northern Ireland reporter Dougie Beattie. Dougie, very controversial, very provocative.
It is, and there's about 300 of these bonfires across Northern Ireland. Some will be lit tonight, some tomorrow night, and of course to mark the anniversary of the Glorious Revolution. It's not unlike the bonfire nights that you have with Guy Fawkes, and really Moygashel in particular has, for the last few years, brought out anything that is publicly annoying them and put it on top of a bonfire. So 2 years ago, we had a boat against the framework document, the Irish Sea border. Last year we had a PSNI Land Rover effigy of it on top of the bonfire, and this year, of course, they have decided to go with migrants on top of the bonfire. Now, you'll realise that Dungannon is only a stone's throw away from Portadown, of which just a couple of weeks ago I was reporting on 2 nights of really vicious rioting in that area over the head of immigration. Now, what they have done is racist and it's wrong, there's no doubt about that, but they have achieved exactly what they were looking for, because they wanted to bring to the public eye by shock what they are worried about. And they're worried about their veterans, they're worried about the legacy bill in Northern Ireland, they're worried about veterans that come from those areas that have no housing, etc. And when I spoke to them by phone last night, they had said to me, Dougie, there's an awful lot of pearl clutching going on here. If we call this art, does that mean it's all right to put on television? Because they have watched what's happened in Glastonbury, they've watched what's happened with Kneecap, and they are pointing at the very politicians that support Kneecap that are also complaining about this on top of a bonfire, and said to me, you know, bands like Kneecap were calling for the death of Tory politicians. Bob Villan was calling for the death of the IDF. So it has got their talking point out there, but it's possibly the wrong way of going about it, and it is causing quite a row inside Northern Ireland politics.
Certainly is. That's Dougie Beattie. Thanks so much for that. And of course, they'll be covering it big time on the station, the July 12 celebrations.
Andrew's off on his holidays. Have a lovely week, and I'm covering for Patrick Christie's tomorrow night on GB News from 9 o'clock, so do join me then. Have a great holiday.
I will.
Emily and Tom are here.
Yes, we're counting down to the big reveal. What exactly is being negotiated? What has been decided between France and the United Kingdom?
Yes, and we're also going to be having a bit of a debate about whether we're being bullied by the French. We've spent God knows how much on this big state visit. Will it be a humiliation, or will we get what we want for the British public and the British taxpayer? All to come.
expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any fog or low cloud soon clearing away this morning, leaving plenty of blue skies and hot sunshine. Though a different story across the northwest. More cloud and also some light outbreaks of rain and drizzle just starting to clip in to the far west of Scotland, and mostly cloudy skies for the first part of the day across Northern Ireland. But elsewhere across England and Wales, eastern parts of Scotland, plenty of blue skies and plenty of sunshine. It is going to be feeling hot in that sunshine though, particularly across central areas and parts of the southeast. We're expecting highs to reach 30 degrees Celsius, so UV levels are set to be high, so do take care if you're out and about in the sunshine this afternoon. Like I said, though, slightly different across parts of Scotland. Still plenty of clouds still by the end of the day, particularly across northern areas of Scotland. Still some light outbreaks of drizzle here. But elsewhere across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, particularly Northern Ireland, actually, that cloud is really going to break up into the afternoon, allowing more sunny spells to break through. But elsewhere across England and Wales, the clear skies are here to stay. So it should be a rather pleasant end to the day. Still feeling warm, and it is set to be quite a mild night, once again, particularly across the southeast. And any rain and drizzle soon clearing the far north of Scotland too, though we might just start to see some cloud through the early hours, particularly around the Irish Sea, which may clip into coastal counties at times, but otherwise dry, settled, and another mild night to come. Temperatures mostly staying around the mid to high teens overnight. So once again, a warm start to finish off the week, and mostly settled for many areas. A return of the blue skies, any low cloud once again soon clearing through the first part of the morning, and even across western Scotland seeing a much better day, less cloud and more in the way of blue skies. And once again, it is going to be feeling hot still across central areas and parts of the southeast, warming up nicely too across Scotland, where we are expecting temperatures in the mid to high 20s, but just creeping in to around 30 degrees Celsius across the south.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday.